It's episode 314 of The Platformers, a show about games and nerd culture, and I am your tiddlywinks playing co-host, or regular host?
Regular host.
It's all falling apart immediately. I'm your host, Brian Barnett.
I am a pie enthusiast, Kris Cornley.
And I am a gamer fuel degenerate, aka Lucas White.
I can't believe
Oh
you've
boy,
done this.
what flavor? The important thing is what flavor.
I got a Sonic cup.
Oh no,
Nice.
It's Sonic flavor? Ugh. Tell me this is not Sonic bathwater, please.
No, but legit, the Sonic flavor is the best one.
Oh my goodness.
Go figure.
That's what got me in the rabbit hole in the first place. I bought it as a joke and drank it, and it was delicious. And my life has not been the same since.
Nice. Unfortunately,
Now it turns out you are the joke.
Unfortunately, his head is cut off by the Platformers podcast banner that's at the top of Lucas's screen, but you do have the Buster Wolf himself this week.
Oh no, his head's cut off?
Yeah, his head is covered. Like the top of
Just because of the stream overlay.
Like the bottom right of mine is covered. The bottom left of Chris's is. There we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now we can see it. Yeah, now we can see it. And in solidarity, I was picking up groceries yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I saw a little something, and I picked up a little buddy for myself who's going to be joining me for this episode and all future episodes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hey.
It's the best Ninja Turtle.
Donnie D.
Yep.
I still need to see that movie.
I have not seen
Official,
the movie, but
unofficial mascot.
this is the one from the new movie, the Mutant.
Yeah.
Game, so
Very distinct style.
yeah, and it's also very weird because if you play, so I had the Ninja Turtles toys as a kid. It's very strange. I have not looked at the colors of the other turtles, but Donatello definitely feels like he's been like whitewashed. Because if you had like the original run Donatello action figure, he had the darkest, brownest skin of them all. And now he's like hella pale in this one, which is very strange.
Yeah, I feel like they keep just changing that every time there's a new show.
Yeah, because like Michelangelo, I think it was either Michelangelo or Raphael had like kind of a bluish skin.
Yeah.
And then like Leonardo was kind of like a middle ground. And then I think Mikey was like the pale, kind of almost like not aquamarine, but like pea green or something like that, like very much like this. And then Donatello was like a very, very brown green.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I dig that he comes with extra weapons too. So he's got like a what's it called?
He's fully kitted out. He's
Like
tri-wielding.
Yeah, like he's got the what is it? The roaring dragon stick or whatever. Like it's not a nunchuck. It's like the 3 bars that have chains in between them. Then he's got like a Naginata, and then he's got his classic bow staff. So, and he's got his little pouch down there with his cell phone. He also comes with glasses. I took those off, and then he's got like headphones that you can like wrap around his neck, which looks pretty cool.
That's intense.
So yeah,
That's pretty neat.
so I saw him in the
Yeah,
aisle.
that tri-nunchuck thing, the only thing it is in my head is the weapon of the main character in Suikoden 5. That's all I know it as.
Yeah, but
It's one of those that can also combine into a proper staff.
I guess I could put him like right here.
I'm not going to grab him, but my
There we
wife
go.
got me
Hey.
a turtle figure recently. Oh, that's awesome.
Perfect.
There we go. All right, we got it. We figured it out, people.
Hell yeah. Back in the day, the old toys, they did this line. I don't know if you ever had one, but it was like just a normal turtle, but you can like pop the shell open and like twist some of the parts in.
He was like a transformer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess
Transforms
they like
into an actual turtle.
yeah, and they like redid them recently, I guess.
yeah?
Just like the old ones. Yeah, I never had one as a kid, but I was always jealous because like a friend had one, and then they were on the shelf at Walmart one day. My wife grabbed it. Yeah, it's just like, oh shit, it's just like the old one.
Nice. Yeah,
They do that now. They'll like redo old toy designs to make the 30-year-olds like pop in the Walmart.
Yeah. I had what is it? I had Metalhead, which was like the metal version of the turtle. Like that was like their villain or whatever. And I forget.
Also, the villain from Jack and Dexter too.
I mean, I'm sure it's a villain from somewhere else as well. That's a very that sounds like the villain of somebody from like Street Sharks or something. That sounds like a Street Sharks villain.
Very kind of generic 80s cartoon bad guy name.
Exactly. Or like Biker Mice from Mars or something like that. You know, like the deep cuts can keep coming. SWAT Cats, you know.
Mighty Max, so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I had him, and I feel like either he did something like that or just I busted him and then his head didn't fit on properly and then I had to take it off and then put it back on. So I might be mixing that up, but I definitely had friends who had like the transforming ones. I always thought that stuff was sick. I always liked that a lot, but
yeah.
Anyways, this is a show about video games, so.
And nerd culture. I keep reminding us, nerd culture.
That is true. And nerd culture.
Metalhead was a boss in Turtles in Time. It's fine.
It's true. It's true.
He's right.
He was stretchy. Well, and he's also in the what is it? Dimension Slash or whatever for Shredder's Wrath. He's one of the dual bosses, I think. In the like roguelike DLC. Did we not play that together, Lucas? I thought you and I played that together. Didn't we?
Maybe.
Did you cover that?
I feel like it's been brought up on the show, but I don't remember if you guys played it.
I covered it for the show for sure, and had like a session where I was playing with some people. I just forget who it was. I thought it was you and Will. Maybe it was.
I don't think it was me.
It was on PlayStation, I think.
Might have been Will.
Definitely not me then.
Okay.
I have it on PC. Man, that game was good.
Yeah. I mean, I reviewed the original game on PC or Xbox because I know it was on Game Pass, I think. Mm-hmm. But then when they were giving out the DLC review keys, it was specifically for PlayStation, and so then they just gave me the game with that thing. So I ended up having to play it there. Anyways, all that to say, we're back again. Episode 314. Donatella's with us. Terry Bogard is with us. Kris and Lucas and myself, Brian, the guy who started this whole thing. Who would have thought?
But is now a co-host, apparently.
And is now only a co-host. I don't know why I demoted myself. That doesn't make any sense.
Demoted yourself.
You hate to see it. Oh, man.
Yeah, just got to level up again.
It is way too... Yeah, that's true. This is one of those... This podcast has become one of those MMOs where like every time you die, you lose experience and you can level down.
Oh, God.
The FF11 pain.
The on foot journey to the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Waste 2 hours getting there, then you die and de-level, and it's just you
get one attempt at this boss at max level, otherwise you de-level.
Hate it. Oh my goodness, unacceptable. All right.
Brilliant decisions in game history.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to have bonus segments at the beginning of the show, or do we want to have them tucked away in the middle?
I assume you're referring to the book corner.
Mm-hmm. I am. I was thinking about just interrupting somebody like in the middle of their thought.
That's a lot like this book I just read. By the way, total segment.
Yeah. But then I was like, well, I don't know. I kind of feel like talking about it just because I've been checking out more Star Wars books, and I started Neuromancer, which is
that one I've read.
It's a bit dry at the beginning, so I kind of like dropped off of it. I'm gonna go back to it, but I have 2 other books that I have checked out, so I'm just like, I'm gonna wait on this one until I'm feeling it more.
Neuromancer is very much like, obviously genre defining, genre forming, but yeah, a bit of a slow burn, very vibes based.
Yeah. Anyways, so I also read previously on Audrey's Book Corner.
He is wheeled away to the bookshelf. I also have a book I picked up recently that I need to talk about once I actually read the damn thing, but I'm looking forward to that at least.
Oh yeah.
What's going on? What I didn't miss? I was gone for too long.
Don't worry, I was just filling in dead air. What you got for us?
Gotcha. So, okay, last time on Audrey's Book Corner, or the past couple of times, I talked about this. So my wife got me the new Timothy Zahn Star Wars Thrawn book, which is, I believe, the canon version of the character now.
That is correct, yes.
So I read this.
It officially complies to Disney canon and all things under that branch,
which is cool because I think this is quite good. I think it introduces several characters and plot threads, including like a new planet called Lothal,
which is very, very important in Star Wars Rebels, the TV show.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that, but I haven't seen Rebels. I haven't seen all. Basically, the only animated thing that I've seen with Star Wars was the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, which I thought was badass.
Oh yeah, that's like some of the best stuff that's ever been made for Star Wars. That shit rules.
Yeah, and also that should have been how General Grievous was introduced in the movies.
Agreed.
Like terrifying.
God, he is so cool in that.
Terrifying.
They do him so well.
So, anyways, this I think is really, really good, and they introduce a new character, Eli Vanto, who I like a lot, and I like Thrawn a lot. Then after this, I went back and actually finished the original Timothy Zahn book trilogy, which is
Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command.
Yes, which we talked about previously, which is also great. But I read this after reading his origin story, so I just kind of assumed this all comes after that because we'll get to something about my views on canon and expanded universe.
Well, it's well after the timeline part of the origin story which is
now called Legends. Then I read the Darth Bane trilogy, which begins with Path of Destruction. It's Path of Destruction, and then Rule of Two, and then Legacy of Evil, I think. It's Legacy of Evil or
something like that.
No, it's Dynasty of Evil. So
you think the dark side is your ally.
Yeah.
Sorry, every time you brought up Darth Bane, that's been in my head, and it finally escaped.
I was born into it, molded by it.
Yeah, Path of Destruction, Rule of Two, and Dynasty of Evil. A great fucking trilogy of books. Really good. By Drew Karpyshyn. Also, the audiobooks that you can check out from your local library are really good. I highly recommend them. This guy, there's a guy, Jonathan Davis, who does the voices for a lot of these, including the Thrawn ones. He does a fantastic job. There are two different voice actors who do the Darth Bane trilogy and the Thrawn stuff that's gone up at my library, and they're both really good. And so I just went through after having those, and I was like, okay, what else could be good? So I searched out on you can check your Libby app if in your area, if you're in the United States or wherever, and you can hook your library card up, and you can either check books out to read digitally, or you can check out audiobook equivalents. This is how I read the first Dune book after having watched the films, and now I'm waiting on Dune Messiah, which is taking fucking forever to get. I've gotten multiple times, Children of Dune has come up, and all these other Dune, God Emperor of Dune, and I'm just like, I need Dune Messiah first, people. So I'm just waiting for that one. But unbeknownst to me, as I was looking for other Star Wars books and other Thrawn books, one came up that was called Thrawn Treason. And what I did not know is that it is directly connected to this book, and it's also connected to oh my god, what was it? Oh, it's directly connected to Rogue One.
Interesting.
Which I did not know. The Stardust program is in it, and the guy played by Director Krennic.
Not Mads Mikkelsen, the other one.
Yeah, the other guy.
Director Krennic.
Yeah, Director Krennic is in it and is a major character.
Yeah, he shows up in a lot of the extra media around that time frame, just whenever.
Yep,
yeah, a lot of them bring up Project Stardust and whatever.
Yep. It's good.
Like
And so
vaguely referenced in Andor and quite referenced in Rebels, and where Thrawn shows up as an antagonist for seasons 3 and 4. So
yeah.
Rebels is a very good show, despite being aimed at a younger audience. It's very good.
Yeah. So anyways, I was not expecting, because it didn't really advertise itself as being a follow-up to this Thrawn book or to being even like a new canon book. But I just finished that like a couple of days ago. Really great and really fun. And
is that by Timothy Zahn or somebody else?
It's not actually.
Interesting. So it's not part of, because I know there is a sequel to the Thrawn Origin book thing, which basically has dual viewpoints of him and Darth Vader. But I can't remember the name of that one.
Oh no,
it's
it is
my
by Timothy Zahn. Never
there.
mind.
Oh, carry on then.
It is by Timothy Zahn. Yeah. Which I mean is why it's so great. And then I think yesterday, I started reading a new one by Paul S. Kemp, called Lords of the Sith, which is also quite good. So, and it is, again, like you can get it on audiobook and stuff like that. Apparently it's a New York Times bestseller, or maybe the author is. But
Lords of the Sith just makes me think, KOTOR 2, the Sith Lord. So it's like, well,
yeah, it basically,
you have a high bar to match for that name, but
yeah. It's, I mean, the reason it's called that is because it is about, the Emperor and Darth Vader going out together.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So they suspect some stuff going on, and Darth Vader's going to go investigate, and the Emperor decides to go with him. And then it's about what happens, and it's about a group of freedom fighters that are trying to liberate a planet from Imperial control, and they show up, and all sorts of insanity. And
they get their shit completely wrecked.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe the rebels will win and they'll kill the Emperor and Darth Vader, in this time.
Yeah, totally.
In this time before the original trilogy. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed that the good guys pull it out. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so far it's really good. I'm enjoying that. And yeah, I think that is it for Year of the Locust continues to be good. The Terry Hayes kind of espionage thriller or spy thriller continues to be quite good. But yeah, that's all for Audrey's Book Corner for this week.
Very neat.
Can I add on to it?
Oh yeah, go for it,
Please
man.
do.
Yeah, I started reading a book finally.
Oh my god.
I say that in jest, but it actually is hard for me to read books because of like my brain and stuff.
Yeah, audio. I highly recommend audiobooks. If you have ADD, one of the reasons. Two things. Sorry to take it back from you, Lucas.
No, you're good.
I promise I'll give it back to you soon. Two things. As somebody for whom most of my hobbies require my eyes and or other things. So like, because I'm so focused on doing stuff with video games for my job, and a lot of other things that I get into are like shows or movies or YouTube series or stuff like that. Like obviously I listen to music, but that's really the only thing that doesn't require my eyes. And so sitting down at night and being like, all right, I'm not going to look at a screen. I'm not going to watch a show or like listen to a show or engage with some sort of a story thing in that way. I'm going to sit down and specifically read a book. That's a harder ask for me. That requires more of my dedicated time, and it's because I have my phone on me all the time. It's very easy to like have one earbud in and be listening to something while I'm doing laundry, while I'm doing the dishes, while I'm cleaning or tidying, while I'm doing like X, Y, and Z thing, while I'm going for a long walk. Now, I used to read, when I was a kid, I used to actually read books on walks or like walk on the treadmill and just have like a book in my hand. But, being able to check out stuff from the library for free And if I do it digitally and if I do it on audiobook, I just have instant access to it. And I don't have to pay anything because it's just my taxes pay for it. That has freed me up to do all of that, which has made it way easier for me to engage with books. And so what I will say is, don't let people stigmatize listening to audiobooks. Like these are made and broadly accessible for people with visual impairments. And this sort of access means that people who learn or who can engage with something more directly in another way, it makes it easier for them too. So I have been pushing myself to like not let myself feel bad for not sitting down with a paper book and just being like, I am reading, I'm just reading with my ears. Like it's the same thing and there's nothing wrong with that. So I've been trying to, I don't know why it is. There's toxic masculinity, but there's also like elitism with like the way that you engage with certain mediums. There's like the whole thing about like watching a movie in a theater versus on your phone. And it's like, you fucking watched the movie, bro. Like you watched it. If you paid attention, you were watching a movie. And people categorically...
Depends on what part of the experience you're focusing on specifically. Like,
yeah,
obviously big picture, audio, etc. is going to be better in cinema typically, but can also have, you know,
it's going to be more immersive, but if you're paying attention, like you're going to get the story. And if the story is the big thing for you, then like who cares? Like
if you're focused on the writing and story part of it, as well as, you know, basic presentation and such, then you'll get just as much from it. It's not a big deal, but it's just, change is weird. We don't like change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely a hurdle that I haven't tried to jump over. But there is definitely that like internal stigma of like, is an audiobook actually reading a book? And, you know, now that you bring it up, it's like, why do I even like think that way?
Yeah.
Because it didn't come from anywhere, right?
Yeah. We internalize these things that aren't even made explicit, which is so weird.
Yeah. That is really weird.
Is reading a book even same as sitting around the campfire listening to the village elder tell a story? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When the Codex was invented, like were people like, oh, you're not reading from a scroll, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, you fucking loser.
Paper? Pff, come on. If it's not chiseled in stone, what the fuck's the point?
Yeah.
But there is like, for me at least, there is like a appeal to having the book in your hand and going to pages that like,
oh, definitely.
It doesn't like supplant the story, but there is something.
It's nice to have these things. I'm completely the same. It's why I never could really get into like reading on a tablet or a Kindle or whatever compared to just flicking pages of a book.
Yeah, I prefer that, but it's like if I look at
if you can only get it that way, so be it, right? But
well, and also like the pragmatism of like, if I go on a trip, I can't carry this entire bookshelf behind me with me. But if I had all of those books digitally, I could very easily carry this with me, you know? So it's just like, there is an element of that. Like I hate DRM. So like, if it's like, all right, these are just PDFs that I have on my phone and I can put them wherever, I'd be like gravy. Like, let's just do it. Makes it easy for me to just pass things along. But everybody is like, oh, you have to have an account with us. You have to have a login with us. You have to have a subscription with us. And it's like, no, like, I don't want that. Like that, the restriction is the problem. Like, I feel like people should be freed to engage with their stuff however they please and to be able to move it to whatever they please. And when you buy something, you should own it. And that
welcome to capitalism, where it gets worse every time.
Yeah, the inshitification of our world, which just is frustrating. But anyways, that is what I wanted to say, because I have just been very aware of this increasing like little voice in the back of my head that's just like, can you really say that you read this book? And it's like, you know, I can say all the way home that like, I have this book, I read this book, and like, I didn't read this one, I listened to the audiobook. Like my wife bought me this book and then I was like, I want to read it, but I don't have time to read it. And then I did the audiobook. And you know what? That's how I got through. In the past like couple of months, I've read like 10 books.
Yeah, you've been churning through those Star Wars books.
Yeah. And it's like, I wouldn't have been able to, you know how many I would have read if it was me actually sitting here and looking at this page? None. So,
yeah.
What's better? me to think that to falsely think that I'm somehow better than the audiobook crowd because I sat there and thumbed through pages of a book that feels good to me physically, but like I just can't make the time for, or to actually get the stuff and read the stuff. And then, I'm moving on to other stuff. Like I'm going to read Flyboys, which is, about some World War II pilots from the Japanese theater who got stuck there and stranded in World War II. It's a real story that happened to real people. And it's like, it's not just fiction, but even if it was, it would still be fine. Like this whole thing about letting people judge us or judging ourselves for the things we choose to engage with. And it's just like, we got to throw that shit right out the window. That's not serving anyone. Anyways.
Agreed.
Anyways, that's me. I'll get down off my soapbox. But what I will say is, reading some of this expanded universe stuff, I'm like, damn, like this is way better than a lot of the stuff that we're getting now. So I'm just going to forget about the distinction and just be like, I'm going to chase the Legends stuff. I'm going to read all this stuff. I'm going to experience whatever is good.
That's what I did.
And I'm just going to just imagine that all the good stuff that I like goes together and ignore all the shit that I hate.
That's pretty much what most of the new canon stuff is. They're just like, okay, but that shit was cool. We're just going to put that over here.
Rise of Skywalker does not exist, but the Darth Bane
sequel trilogy is irrelevant.
But the Darth Bane trilogy definitely happened.
KOTOR happened. All that good shit happened.
Because that shit's real good.
That's all you need.
Anyways, sorry for that, Lucas. Please,
no,
please continue.
Totally fine. So basically, so one thing I've kind of talked about multiple times is like getting into like dungeon RPGs in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of before I really got into them, there was a series I was playing a while back called Mary Skelter.
I'm familiar with the name, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a sorry, it's a dungeon RPG from Compile Heart, which is the developer on a little something called Hyperdimension Neptunia.
Yeah,
which is probably what you're going to be more familiar with.
They do a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, so this is like one of their sort of pivots to like, I don't want to say heavier because it's still kind of over the top and silly, but it's more like horror adjacent. It's also got like a little like erotica on the side, but it's basically like a post-apocalyptic thing. No, they're not horny at all.
Erotica?
Yeah,
in this economy,
and like it's like a weird way. Like it's not like usually when you think about like anime games and like them being like sexual or whatever, it's like in your face and there's body parts bouncing around everywhere. This is more like undertones, I guess.
Like sexual situations as opposed to nudity.
Yeah, it's like vibes, and it's like really intermixed with like the horror stuff, so it's not like horny in a fun way, I guess we'll put it.
It's horny in the way that Catherine is horny.
Yeah, kinda.
Where it's like, oh no, there's a monster.
The horny thing is the dungeon you're in, basically.
The dungeon is horny?
Yeah, and that's bad. It's scary because it's trying to kill you at the same time.
So you're talking about Kamoshida's palace, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, basically.
If the palace was, a giant like phallic symbol.
I mean, I don't know what chariot
it wasn't
you
far
fought.
Off.
I don't know what chariot you fought in Kamoshida's palace, but there was definitely a phallus in there.
Right. I'm talking about the whole dungeon.
Dungeon.
Basically it's like a post-apocalyptic thing where like this thing, it's like a meteor crashes on the Earth and it turns into this like tower that sort of like corrupts the environment around it, blah blah blah. And there's a whole series, and it's like basically the gimmick is like the heroes are these girls who have like mixed blood with like the bad stuff, and they're based on like fairy tale characters, and it's very gimmicky. But the long and short of it is it's a first person dungeon crawler that's very like kind of violent and grotesque. The last game came out a few years ago, and they did one of those big like special editions that like they sell through NIS. Because it's like a Idea Factory published, but they do their special editions through NIS usually. But one of the things it came with is a set of novels, which is really interesting to me because like a lot of times with like Japanese games like this, you hear about like, oh, they did like a little novel series or like a tie-in manga or something, but it's so niche, it just never gets localized. And you're lucky in some cases, even if like it gets unofficially translated. In this case, that didn't happen. So it's like, hey, we translated these novels and did physical versions of them, and you can only get them in this limited edition set. And I don't usually spring for those things. In this case, I did. Many years later, I finally cracked it open. So these books have been sitting on my shelf. I don't know if my lighting's good enough, but there's the cover of the first one. And then here's like the slip cover. Yeah. There's the main character, blah, blah, blah. The other main character. So I started reading it, and these are interesting because they're light novels. So even though they're kind of like aimed at an older audience, they're still kind of like really, I don't know, briskly written. Like there's not a lot of like.
They tend to lean more toward novella size almost.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't really like stick around for a long time. It's like very like point to point to point to point. And then it's like filtered through somebody who had to translate it from another language, so like you can kind of tell. But it's really interesting just to kind of like get that like extra insight, or not really insight, but just like more material aside from just like the silly dungeon crawling video game where it's like a lot of it's through like character dialogue. Because
actually flesh out the world and setting a bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's like Compile Heart style is very visual novel-y, so it's going to be, most of the text is going to be through like characters interacting with each other, and then here you get like a kind of a bird's eye view. You get like more background into the, the scary, horny tower thing from outer space, which is just like
scary, horny tower from outer space. Yep. That's his phrase.
Yeah, so it's cool, like, to have access to that kind of thing, I guess. And it's like, if I didn't sit here and read the book, then I'm just not going to get that, because it's not going to be translated anywhere else. There's, so it's kind of a bummer, I guess, when you think about it that way, because it's like, wow, this sure is some unfortunate, artificial, but probably also financially necessary scarcity here.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. But that's what happens when you're into like weirdo stuff. Yeah, I'm reading a book, and like it's not very long. But I've read like 15 pages, which is a big deal for me because my brain is rattled from unmedicated problems for a long time. But now that I'm there, I'm trying to read some books.
Nice.
And this seemed like a good excuse. Yeah. So I've been hitting the DRPGs really hard lately. And then it's just like, oh, I remember this exists. But yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
It gets really grimy. It's like, hey, let's write about this like child ripping another child's head off because we're edgy like that. It's like cool.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I am not saying, the point that I was making earlier is not that you should listen to audiobooks. It is that you should do things the way that you want to do them and not let anybody naysay you, including your own mind.
Including yourself, yeah.
Yes, which is something that I have problems with. Lucas has said he's had problems with. However, I will also say
trust no one, not even yourself.
I do, yeah. I do also advocate for taking time to be mindful and taking time to focus on only one thing. I feel like a lot of modern society is built around trying to take our attention in a bunch of different directions and always be engaging us on like some front. And
which is having actual negative effects on the ability for many, especially younger generations, to actually pay attention. Like, it's damaging us.
Yeah. So one thing I will say that I have had to be intentional with this. I have had to be purposeful with this, but taking time to just go outside and just spend like 5 to 10 minutes just like looking around, pacing around, breathing deeply of the outside air, looking at the trees. You know, one thing I have done is, like, as I'm walking around, like, I used to do this all the time when I was a kid. And at one point, I don't know why, I just stopped, but like reaching out and touching things, like walking on a sidewalk and there's a bunch of trees in my neighborhood. And I just started like reaching out, like touching the leaves, like touching the bark and stuff like that. And just, it has a very grounding effect. You know, there is a meme around like touch grass. It's true. Like, just do it and it's a very soothing experience. Like, sit outside and listen to the breeze and listen to the birds, and doing that. And then like reading a book, even if it's only for like 5 minutes or something, or just like 2 minutes, like doing it to the degree that you can do it. I have to like destigmatize, doing a little, and like trying to avoid all or nothing thinking, because it's like, it's this way when you try to eat properly, when you try to exercise and stuff like that. Like, people are like, oh, okay, well, if you're not spending like an hour in the gym doing a heavy lifting routine or regimen, then like you're doing terrible. And it's like, no, if you lift for even 5 minutes, like that's something. And you need to allow yourself to be happy with doing little amounts for yourself. And what I have found is that if I can get in and do even one rep of something, like, even if it's like, okay, I'm walking past my bed, I have like a pretty hefty like footer at the end of my bed, just like lean on that and do one like diagonal push-up. Even if that's all I do, that is something. And that I'm like, hey, I did a thing. And then instead of trying to make myself feel bad for something I didn't do, I'm making myself feel good for something I did do, even though it's small, which incentivizes me to do more small, good things for myself. And that has led to me going on multiple walks a day, or having like one of these like step trackers and being like, all right, to the best of my ability, I'm going to try to take 2 walks a day, 2 walk breaks a day, and get up to like 10,000 steps. If I can do that every day, I'm doing great. Even if I can't, it's pushing me to do more, or drink more water, or like something like that. And it's really important to start small. So like, Lucas, I applaud you. Like, good job reading 15 pages, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'm really trying to do there, is like being okay with the fact that this might take a while to get through entirely.
Yeah.
Because it's like, one of the biggest things for me with reading after a certain point was like, I would start to notice that like I would read, and it's really hard to tell in retrospect if like my mind was wandering or not, but it'd be like, suddenly I'd like snap back and be like, I think I just read like 4 or 5 pages, but I have no idea what any of it just said.
Didn't absorb it. Yeah.
Like just none of it retained whatsoever. And that was really off-putting. So now it's like, okay, if I can just like do little chunks at a time, and even if I don't come back to it for another week, maybe I'll just like not worry about whether or not I remember what I read before, and just like pick up exactly where the bookmark is, and then maybe like I'll be able to fill in the blanks afterwards. But yeah, it's definitely that sort of like allowing yourself to not feel bad about like, oh, I didn't binge through this book like I did when I was like, 13 or whatever.
Yeah. It's tough, but it's also super important for us to be gracious with ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really struggling with that, which Brian can attest to, in regards to just, I have the tendency to be a perfectionist, in that when I apply myself to something, I want to do it right. I want to do it good, all of that. The problem is I'm a goddamn mess. So it becomes really hard to actually maintain that level for extended periods. And that sucks. I end up
it's a lot of energy.
Yeah. And then even when I then start feeling guilty that I couldn't do it or couldn't focus on it or was too tired or this, that, and the other thing from any number of things. And yeah, it's a habit I'm trying to break because it doesn't do me any good. It just leads to, spiraling more mentally. And it's just, you just have to stop, take little steps and just go, that is enough. That is better than not doing anything. Just acknowledge the things I do rather than lamenting what I do not.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yes.
It's tough. It's tough out there, guys. Be
It's
gracious
real
to
tough.
yourself. That's
Yeah,
the way.
listen to the people when they tell you to touch grass. Just don't listen to the tone.
Yeah. Anyways. There you go. That's a nice little bit.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent.
There you go.
Also, speaking of the change, being the change that you want to see in this world and also being a pervert, did you guys hear about Twitter? They're going to allow adult content on there now.
You mean
What do you mean
already?
I know.
What?
Like you couldn't just see that stuff out there, but they're not going to take it out. But anyways.
A whole bunch of the not safe work artists I know had to move there from various places because all the others just block this shit.
And now here you go. Now they're going to have their blessings. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Are we basically saying the bots are a feature, not a bug now? Is that what that means?
As long as they pay their tithe to Muskie. Good old Musk coming in and inventing something that already exists but worse.
Hell yeah.
God, the stories about the Cybertruck, just again, complete tangent, but the stories about the rollout of that fucking Cybertruck are hilarious. That thing is a goddamn wreck. There is footage of people.
Videos.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love the ones of like the guy shutting his finger in the trunk.
Yeah. Putting a carrot in the trunk and then closing it, and it just clean break.
It's incredible. The one is like the guy who did it with his actual hand, like broke his finger and then went and like did it again, like the next time there was a firmware update or whatever.
This is why the other people used a carrot. It's a test. And then they grated the carrot against the door frame because that's how fucking sharp it can get.
Oh my god.
It's a joke. Much like Twitter.
Hope you guys enjoyed that little cameo.
I did. Love a good cameo.
What's that?
Love a good cameo.
Yeah. Anyways. So I totally missed what we were just talking about.
We were shitting all over the Cybertruck, that's all.
Gotcha.
Making fun of Elon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yeah. So how are we all doing video games wise these days?
Well, I am still completely enthralled by this little game right here.
The Steam Deck.
And also
Balatro. However...
That's what I was playing this morning before the show.
Yeah. However, I also have been playing quite a few other things. And I beat some games, baby!
Nice. What you got?
So, I guess I'll kick us off since I was just teed up so beautifully. Let's see. When did we start talking about books? Like 15 minutes in? Something like that?
Pretty quick in, yeah.
Something like that.
44 minutes in, and we're now pivoting back to video games.
Yeah.
Wow. We did mention, Mary Skelter in there, so we're safe. We're good.
Yeah, that's a video game.
The podcast police aren't going to come for us just yet.
Not quite yet. I heard the sirens, but I think we might have dodged them for now.
Yeah, well, they're bastards anyway.
Dodgson? We got Dodgson here.
No one cares.
But yeah, let's see. 44:10 roundabouts. So I played a couple of games that I am reviewing right now, including some that I have played previously and touched on previously, but I've now spent a lot more time with. So I've got 3 things, and I will let you guys choose whichever one you are the most interested in. So I've played a lot more V Rising. I've played a lot of the System Shock remake, and I have beaten Duck Detective: The Secret Salami.
Do love
I
a
know
good secret salami.
nothing about that last one, so tell me that one.
All right, Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. Sounds like one of those games that Lucas was talking about earlier that is just incredibly erotic. But it's not, actually, surprisingly. It is a mystery kind of point-and-click adventure game, kind of. Basically, it was pitched to me as like Return of the Obra Dinn and The Secret of the Golden Idol. Both games which I am a big fan of.
It's a kind of puzzle mystery
Yeah.
sort of thing.
So what I would say about this is it is a lot less messed up than those games. It is a lot like more approachable for younger audiences. Like Obra Dinn gets kind of dark. And Golden Idol does too. And so I feel like if you are looking for something that is like better for younger kids or, you know, something like that, I feel like this is definitely a good one. It's also more bite-sized than those other games. I think I beat it in, let me check my Steam thing. I believe I beat it in like 2 or 3 hours. So it was
Very bite-sized.
very, very easy to get into and play through. That cannot possibly be right that my playtime is 55 minutes. Because it says, basically the how long to beat is like 2 hours to 2.4 hours. It's like very, very approachable. And it's not that... Let me see what it costs. Because I do not know. Playing through it, it's very much like one of the... It's very much like one of the like Telltale games where like playing through it, you'll get all the achievements. So if you're a big fan of those sorts of things, like that is it. Oh, it's $10. It's on sale for $8 or $9 right now. So I dig it. Super cute. The voice acting is quite good.
And if you speedrun it, you can refund it.
I suppose. I think it's totally
practice.
totally worth it. Oh wow, the reviews are overwhelmingly positive. Yeah, I mean, well, that makes sense.
I love the style.
Yeah, super beautiful. I love it. The voice acting is great. It is a very basically it's like a noir mystery, but cutesy and with animals. The idea is you are a duck detective who has been hired to come in and check out what happened when somebody's lunch got stolen at a bus company. And you uncover a like salami ring, like a salami like sales ring.
The salami mafia, yeah.
Yeah. You stumble upon something like that. But another wrinkle is you don't know who hired you. So you're going in and you're trying to figure that. You're trying to figure out who hired you. You're trying to figure out what is going on with everybody at this bus company. What's going on with the lunch that got stolen and what's going on with the weird salami, the salami bandit you got to find out about. So it's very, very adorable. There's like an alligator and a cat and a giraffe and a bear, like all a bunch of cute animals. And the relationships between the characters are cool. You'll also have to navigate like different phases of your investigation and the story. You'll have access to different places. You'll have to like, you know, get people to go certain places so that you can like investigate stuff while they're away from their desk or whatever. Like, oh, can you figure out their password? Can you do this? And there is a degree to which like you can kind of brute force the puzzles with like process of elimination stuff. but it's really not that intensive of a game, so that that kind of doesn't really matter to me. Like, I don't see that as a negative, because this isn't like some crazy. It's just like, if you're paying attention and you're doing like, you're like poking around, like, you'll be able to figure this stuff out. It's not that hard. I would say this is like a really nice short palate cleanser in between other things. And if you just like these sorts of things, like, I played Overboard a ways back, which is another one of these games that's like, it's not very long. You are a woman who murdered her husband and then is trying to spend the last 2 hours of a ship's voyage to the mainland trying to get away with it. Like that, another great game. Like, but it's very much like in this vibe of like, it's not too intense. It's just light and fun, and doesn't take that long. Doesn't cost that much. It's beautiful. It plays masterfully on the Steam Deck, which is where I played it. I played the entirety of it on my trip. It was awesome.
Nice.
It was awesome. So highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, I got a review key for this one, so check it out. I'm pretty sure it's on consoles right now. It's by Happy Broccoli Games. Yeah, I dig it.
Very nice.
So,
yeah. So that's the first of the three.
That's the first of the three. So, do we want to roll into my other stuff, or do we want to switch off and have Kris or Lucas, you guys, talk about something else? I don't know how much we've got. I know Lucas
I don't have a huge amount of stuff.
Okay, I know Lucas and I have one other thing that both of us can definitely talk about.
Yeah.
But the other things that I'm going to talk about aren't super meaty either. So.
Well, let's see. I've been doing previews a lot at Shack News, so I've got little bite-sized pieces of video game.
All right, why don't we like ping pong back and forth then?
Yeah. All right. So, hey, guess what? I played a dungeon RPG.
Oh my god!
No way!
Surprising, shocking news.
Actually, you know what? I do have a follow-up to that, so I'll go next. But
not
go ahead.
On purpose at all. So basically,
I'm gonna quote one of my favorite movies, Anchorman, and say, I don't believe you.
I have that in GIF format.
Yeah.
It's in my reaction folder.
It's a great like all-purpose GIF.
So this is a game I kind of tripped over on Twitter because there's like two other people that kind of do what we do. There's, I'm gonna butcher their names. Brendan Heath over at GameSpot.
I've always said Brendan Hess, but I might be wrong.
Brendan Hess. Yeah, I've only read it. I have not heard his name spoken out loud.
Yeah, me neither.
And then James at RPG Site. Anyway, so
the three sickos on the internet that actually do coverage for dungeon RPGs.
Exactly.
The few, the proud.
The few, the proud. There's only three of us. But yeah, James particularly, and I don't want to butcher his last name. He was at Tokyo Game Show, and he ran to this game called Witch and Lilies. And it's a super duper indie first person dungeon RPG that just came out in early access, like towards the end of the month. And it's interesting because it looks very cute at first glance, and it's the whole like premise is it's a dungeon crawler that's kind of like Etrian Odyssey, but there's like a romance aspect between your party members.
Oh my!
And they're all women, so it's like a Yuri DRPG. But then you look at it, and the scenario is written by one of the creators of Corpse Party.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And that person is absolute degenerate scum, in like a fun way, because he does horror stuff usually. Um, also did the scenario writing, I believe, for a Compile Heart series called Death and Request, which also gets really, really nasty in that good old horror way.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that opens in a very visceral way. I've played the first one like a little bit, and immediately it sets the tone of okay, I see what we're getting in for.
the second one is even less apologetic about it.
Oh boy.
But that is to say that I haven't really uncovered anything horrible about this game, but it's got some kind of like sinister undertones about it. And the monster art is really grotesque. There'll be things like, oh, that's a spider, but then you look closer and it's like, oh, it's a spider, but it's made out of like human fingers. That's weird. Or
Elden Ring is calling.
Yeah.
Or here's a callback for you: Shadow Heart's Covenant.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like the first boss in that has, friggin' spider, which the legs are big fingers. So it's a bit different from what you're describing, but that's just in my brain forever now.
It seems like a repeating image in these games. Now that we're talking about it, I wonder where that comes from. But yeah, basically, it's like it's got this very Etrian Odyssey style for like the characters. Very like bold colors, very like happy-go-lucky. Everyone's smiling.
Yeah, it looks really nice
like
in that regard.
Yeah, and then you go in the dungeons and like everything is terrifying. And there will be like little vignettes you run into where it's like something really awful seems to have happened, but you're like kind of you've stumbled into like the aftermath of it. And maybe it gets worse from there. I don't know, but it's like okay, I like my guard is up in a way I wasn't expecting it to be. It's like, wait a second, I know this. I recognize this person's name. They're the writer. I don't trust this game anymore. It's telling me it's cute, but I don't believe it. But I guess the other interesting thing about it is like it is very, very early access. It's like I don't usually find myself in front of early access games. And this is one where it's like we're still formatting the text as we translate it. We're still putting the systems together. Like it's very skeletal.
Yeah, the reviews on Steam are low for exactly that. Most of them are just like, there's a lot of like blue when I scroll down, but it's only 41% overall. So it's like a lot of them just like interesting potential, but it's not ready.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are kind of like, well, I kind of see like what's in place here, and I can see it kind of working pretty well, assuming like, they on the Steam page they're like they put like a year. Their schedule has like a year in mind for when the 1.0 is, and I don't know how much. I don't know how feasible that is. It's hard to tell what kind of muscle is behind this. Because in a lot of ways, like visually, it looks nice. It's got. So if you're not familiar with Etrian Odyssey, it's got a really similar progression system. So like you pick your class, and then you get to pick like a couple little like design options. In Etrian Odyssey, it'd be like, do you pick male or female? And then you got two variants each. But since it's all females, you get like two different sets of art for the class, and they're kind of fun and interesting. And then they have like these skill trees. So every time they level up, they get a couple of points, and it's like you can put points into the different weapon options or like their base stats, and then that kind of branches off into what skills you can get. So there's a lot of like you can kind of see what's in front of you, and then you can kind of plot ahead based on like, well, I feel like using axes for my warrior, so where does that take me? That kind of thing. That's in there, and then it's like got this thing where you go through the dungeon and you've got your random encounters, but then you've got enemies that are on the map and you can see them, and they kind of move along with you in like pseudo real time. Yeah, exactly. In this case, they're witches. The whole thing is like there's these witches in this tower, and they're doing bad stuff, so you're going down there to try to fight them, but they're like absurdly powerful. So if you run into the first one you see, it's going to just flatten you. So there's that aspect to it. And then it's like when you go back to the surface, the dating stuff kicks in. And it's basically like, okay, you've got this group of characters and they're fighting with each other, so they kind of like bond that way. And then you can put them on these little tasks where it's like, you two go train, and they'll like give themselves a temporary buff in their like attack and defense that they'll have next time you go in the dungeon. Or it's like, you two go cook, and they'll make like a healing item that you can take with you next time. Or gather items, which gathers items. And when you put them together, their relationship will develop to some extent. And then they might like ask to hang out with each other afterwards, and that'll either go well or won't go well. And theoretically, the more you do that, that'll build up, and then they'll like start to like help each other in combat and stuff. But it's like right now it's like half translated, and you get like one line of flavor text when you do it. So it's like either they are working more on fleshing that out, or it's going to end up really grindy in a way that I think kind of betrays that being part of like the main premise a little bit. So it's kind of like, it's an interesting game with like some intriguing writing stuff that could get more kind of oppressive, or maybe not. It's hard to tell. And then there's like these dating systems that feel very shallow and barely implemented, at least at the start. And then it's like, all right, we're going to be on this kind of early access train for a year, and here's our like schedule of planned updates, and then here's our like unplanned updates based on feedback. And it's just like, all right, we'll see how that goes, I guess. And that's Witch and Lilies. So if you're not, yeah, it's like early access in a lot of ways seems to be a given, I think. For something like Hades, it's like, okay, this game is basically finished already, and early access is there to like, the
only reason they haven't released it as Hades 2 is because they're also building Hades 3 in it. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Or it's like, they want to, iron out some of the kinks before they do 1.0. And then it's like a discount. But then like there's like the textbook reason the early access exists, and that's for games that, we probably couldn't make this game without getting a little extra funding from people who are willing to buy in early. This is not anywhere near a finished video game. So it's like, if you're a sicko for like the kind of niche this thing occupies, and you're also willing to like maybe check it out, but not sit there and devote time to it until, check back in every now and then for the updates, or just like, here's my $12, $15, whatever. I'll come back.
Here's my Kickstarter donation, effectively.
Yeah. And like, you can play the game if you want to. It may or may not be a good time. There's definitely like some interesting stuff there, but it is capital E, capital A early access.
Yeah. Good to know.
Fair.
Yeah. I like that style where it's like you pick your characters, you pick your class, you pick your portraits, and then you just kind of go out and grind for a little bit.
You custom build your little party and see. There's less story or personality aside from the ones you make as they prove themselves or fail to prove themselves in some case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. There is
not as like high pressure to it. Like Etrian Odyssey is really hard, and you have to draw your own map.
You have to grind, you have to draw your map, and
yeah. And this one's kind of like a couple of steps back from that, which I appreciate. So
if it's your first time in Etrian Odyssey, you have to crawl the dungeon.
Oh yeah.
It's true. Well, speaking of dungeon crawling and vaguely roguelike stuff, I mentioned a little while back now that I actually started playing through Void Terrarium 2, and I just recently picked that up again. Just looking for something to play on my Switch. I'm like, I never did finish this, did I? So I have been chipping away at that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good game. I don't know if I vibed with it as much as I did the first. The first just felt a lot more compact, focused, and pretty good. The second one just feels like it took a little longer to get going, and I kind of see what it's going for in places, but I don't know. It hasn't quite grabbed me. But
Yeah.
I did get to the ending. So the first ending, or the ending choice, effectively.
Yeah.
And that's weird. That's a weird fucking ending.
Yeah.
Because I did the one which is obviously like, okay, I'm just going to take what is obviously the bad ending, right? And then I'll go back and check the other one, because they kind of just drops on you. Like, you get back from a dungeon crawl, and then it just hits you with it. Like, oh fuck, this is the ending choice already? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I picked the intentionally bad one, and it's labeled as the true one. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. God. I can't remember when I brought this up. It might have been our Game of the Year one or something.
I think it was Game of the Year when you brought it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the first game does that to you as well, but it's more like, okay, this is obviously like
this is obviously a fake out. Yeah.
And this one, it like flips it around in a really weird way, and I did not know what to think of it. It's like it's like it's messing with you if you played the first one, but then it's like Did you look into like what the other ending is?
I haven't, but I can intuit it just because of where the story is going and the situation with it. It's like, it's not going to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
Neither of them are, but that one is especially just the logical conclusion of what's happening. And I'm just like, I see what you were going on about this made me feel things in ways. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I think I see what's going on here. So I still got to actually tackle that. Yeah, I still got to tackle that side of it. But yeah, that's a weird one. And again, I don't quite like it as much as I did the first. It's better in some ways, worse than others. Overall, pretty solid. I just think it goes on a bit too long. And that's probably the biggest complaint.
Yeah, I think so Brian, for context, the first game is like this kind of Tamagotchi mystery dungeon game.
Okay.
This one, and it's pretty straightforward. It's like you go in the dungeon, you bring stuff back to decorate the terrarium, so on and so forth. This one adds this weird like alternate reality gimmick where it's like you go into a like VR
this is
simulation.
The one you were talking about during the Game of the Year episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Got you. Got you. Yeah. You talked a long time about this, and I was actually thinking about that, and I was like, wait a second, is that this? Yes. So that is the same game. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like it adds this additional layer of like you go into the VR world, and it's like a VR reconstruction of like the last days,
the final
of humanity,
days.
basically.
Yeah.
And it makes the visuals into this little 8-bit thing, and it becomes this little like you like go in, you get a quest, and you go back out, and you get the thing, and then you bring it back, and like the story develops from there. And it gets very like high concept-y about it.
But you're not interacting with the same girl that you were from previous, or you are?
It is the same girl, yeah.
In the game, but in the VR section also?
Oh, the VR section is not.
Okay. Yeah, it's like before.
She's there, but you're not interacting with her directly, of sorts.
Yeah.
Okay. You're interacting with everyone else who is now very dead, and she's the last survivor.
Yeah.
You're kind of filling backstory.
Listeners, if you want to hear a much more in-depth check out our Game of the Year episode from January, I think.
That sounds
and even if you don't want to hear more about that, just go listen to it anyway. It was a good episode. We had fun.
It was. And we had Cam Hawkins on it.
True.
So,
yeah, it goes places, and it's way more like, I don't know. I don't want to say like Ghost in the Shelley, but that's like my gut like easy comparison kind of thing.
Now that's got me thinking about other stuff like Ghost in the Mary Shelley, and it's like I want to.
Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
Is the doctor or the monster the ghost? Who knows?
Who knows?
I didn't mean to hijack you there, but it's like, man, it's an interesting additional angle that they throw in there for the sequel. Yeah. I still don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's fine, I guess. But it just means there is a lot more going out and a lot more dungeon running and a lot more quests and such to do, even after where I'm at the point where it's just like I'm steamrolling these things now because more quests and more blueprints means more items to craft, which every time you craft a new item, it becomes a permanent upgrade for you. So by the time of it, I'm just jumping ahead like 2 steps into the dungeon and then just beating the shit out of everything just with minimal upgrades. It's like, yep, okay. I'm kind of past this at this point.
I have solved the video
for a bit. Yeah. Whereas it felt a lot more tightly focused and balanced in the first one. Like actually beating the final dungeon in that felt like the appropriate level of challenge and progression, and I felt really good about doing it. So yeah. So that's Void Terrarium 2. I'm going to go back and just get the other ending just for the sake of completion at some point. I took a breather from it just because I had done too much mystery dungeon for a bit. But yeah.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah, I think when NIS does something that's not Disgaea, I think it's worth paying attention to.
Definitely true, although you guys definitely know I'm biased.
Yeah.
Well, I like Disgaea too.
They're not always winners, but dude.
I do not like
also,
the pretty
I never
games.
noticed that the Prinnies were Dodgers colors. That's pretty cool.
How could you not? It's been my Steam avatar for literally 15 years.
What,
I've never...
the Los Angeles Dodgers?
No, the Prinny.
Yeah.
The friggin' the Obey style pictures. It's that, but it just says dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That has been my Steam image for like 15 years, and I have never once changed it.
I see the hero Prinny in the background, and I wish I liked him more.
By the way, I mean, I didn't really care for those games, but somebody I knew who used to work PR for NIS was like, hey, I got a bunch of stuff, and I'm moving, and I don't have room for it. Like, I know you've covered a lot of stuff for us. Like, do you just want it?
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like that's where I got this one. That's where I got another one. I think I got a box Prinny as part of like what I did for Disgaea 7, or like maybe when I went to PAX I won. Oh no, I won that. I won that at PAX. That's right.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then this one, like, check this out. Like, you guys won't realize this if you're looking in the image, but I'm about to show you.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can see the scale is going to. You might want to take your headphones off. It's huge, isn't it? Oh, it's big.
That's a
heckin' chonker.
Yeah, like you can't tell.
That is the size of your torso for listeners.
He is enormous. Like,
that's awesome.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of Hero Prinny. He's great.
Scarf
is a big Prinny. Well, you know he's a hero because he's wearing a scarf, right?
He is. Laharl scarf, baby.
It is easy to like the Prinnies. I think like they add so much to this.
They're just so dumb and absurd, and it's great.
Yeah,
it's true.
But yeah, I guess pass the ball back to Brian.
All right, we're doing that. We're playing catch. Here we go. All right, so in addition to playing Duck Detective: The Secret Salami, I've also played a lot more V Rising.
Good stuff.
So I have been playing the version before it. Now I'm actually playing the full version of the game, which is cool.
I'm gonna have to play that with you at some time because at the moment my current server is stalled for reasons. So I would like to play with more people.
I've been trying to, and I've made my own server, and I am past the point where I got before. So I have a whole new set of armor. I've beaten like several more bosses than I did before. So I think I've beaten like the first 7 bosses.
Cleared out much of the opening woods area.
Yeah. I think I've only got like 1 or 2 bosses, and then I'm heading to another area. And I've already been to other areas, like just running around. And like I've moved my base, I've moved my castle.
Oh damn.
So yeah, like I found a place that is close to the next area that I'm going to be going to, and I just wanted to see like how it worked to move my castle and how easy it would be. It's incredibly easy. And
it's so much easier. You used to have to do it manually, and it was awful.
Yeah, it's so easy, and everything just goes into a little pocket where you can pull it out later. And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. And it was super, super easy. It put me very close. The reason I did it, this is like a ridiculous thing to say, but like the reason I moved my base is because I was low on health. I really needed to rest, and I was very far from my base. And so I was just like, is there just a spot of land where I can just create a teleport thing and then just do it so that I can sleep the day off? And that's what I did. Like, I literally moved my entire base and just slept the day off. And then once I had kind of recovered and had like a cycle of things that I could do without having to run all the way across the map, I went out, fought the boss, which was just around the corner from where I was now, destroyed it, and then came back and was able to kind of build things out a little bit more. I have an entire suite of weapons that I never had before. I've done like research desk stuff where I found like a merciless crossbow recipe that I can almost make. They're asking for way more whetstones. And right now, the only way that I can get those is as like a random drop or a random find. Like, I don't know how to like reliably find those yet.
But you will be able to get the crafting recipe for that when you kill one of the bosses in that area. But yeah, that just tends to be how it goes. Yeah, it's like what is a rare drop originally eventually gets a crafting recipe once you punch out the boss, usually in that area.
Nice. Yeah. So I've built like a blood press and a vermin nest thing. I've built a regular desk. I've built like a woodworking desk. I've built a tanner, a furnace, a sawmill, and a grinder, like some mirrors and stuff. Like I set basically
your basic setup. Yeah.
I set up my castle the way that I did last time, Lucas, but I did it a little bit more compact than to the way that we were doing it together, which made it very easy to move. And I've tried to keep things tight enough where like one mist generator will actually cover me, which has helped a lot. In just like the thing for me this time around, playing in the full version of the game, to review it is like, all right, let me be efficient. Let me not have so much that I'm paying attention to. And because of that, I feel like I've been able to actually get more done more quickly. So like, instead of having like, oh, I've got these things over here because it looks great. It's just like, all right, put everything right close to each other, have one mist generator so I can just like pop out of my coffin, do all the stuff I need to do during the day. And then when it's nighttime, go out on the hunt. And that has made it so that I'm
pragmatic.
Yeah. I'm paying
be pragmatic and build your big, glorious, expansive castle after, I find. Like once you clear the first area and you have access to more of the map, more abilities, more options, that's the point at which I usually go, okay, so where am I going to set up base for real though?
Yeah.
And then I'll start building elaborate.
And granted, like I don't know what the rest of the game is going to hold for me, but I'm just like, until I can build a roof over my head, like I'm not going to worry about anything other than keeping things close together so that I don't have to burn so many bones to keep.
So you still can't do that yet?
Or... No, I can't do that yet.
If you have a grinder, you can usually just turn stone into stone bricks, and that usually allows you to just build, like as long as the walls aren't made of wood, as long as you have an enclosed space, it will.
Yeah, all my walls are built of wood.
Okay.
So I don't.
So if you replace those with stone walls, if you can get those, then do that as soon as you can, and then that and floor and instant roof, and that's what you.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing that I don't have yet. So I'm still reliant on like the shade of trees and then my mist generation from burning bones to like keep myself safe during the day, which just makes me feel way more exposed. And then also navigating teleports. Like that's another thing where I'm just like, okay, it's fast for me to move through the woods as a wolf, but I can't teleport unless my home base is close to a teleportation place. So then I was like, all right, so my new base
will soon get the ability to build your own.
Okay, good. So that's another thing where I'm just like, man, this is kind of obnoxious. So I'm actually going to move my base close to a teleporter thing so that when I run across the map to find a boss and like I get myself into a bad way and I need to go back and refresh, like I can just teleport home. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. One criticism that I have about this, and I know that this is, and I'll get into like the ways that I think this really is awesome in a second. other than the stuff that I've already talked about when I was playing it pre-release, Lucas, with you. But one of the things that I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like a negative, because there is something to be said for the positive way in which the game just kind of like gives you a premise and then gets out of your way. But I was really expecting like a story, and I don't know that there is one.
There's implied lore. It's
But
you get little bits and pieces from mostly boss descriptions and boss lines and such, but by and large, a lot of the story is just out of the way.
Gotcha. So that's totally fine. The idea, I guess I was just expecting something more, and maybe this is just because of the perspective. I was expecting something more Diablo-like and not like Minecraft-like, but that's totally fine. I just feel like the thing is...
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to find that there. And I get it.
Yeah, which is totally fine. I didn't necessarily have my expectations set appropriately. And so that's where I think the disconnect is. However, on the other side, because it is not beholden to all the lore, it can be solely focused on mechanics, and it can be focused on customizing your own experience. When I was making my own server, I went into the options menu, and it's ridiculous.
I did mention this to Lucas to help assuage that, but you can really customize that shit. So.
Yeah, like one thing that I was very surprised at was when I was like, okay, so... Because I was talking to Will, I think earlier, and I was like, all right, so I don't have my character that I can take with me anywhere, right? I only have... Each character I make lives on the server where they live, and that's it. Which is
unfortunately.
Which if you think about this in the way of like a classic MMO or something like another like online game, like... I guess this wouldn't be true of Diablo, because then you do take your characters elsewhere. But I was thinking of it kind of like an MMO where it's like, I've got this server, my character is locked there, I can't really move them anywhere else, and that sucks. However, when you are starting up a new server, you can select the type of equipment that is available from the jump. So you can literally go like, you have level 0 equipment, you have level 10 equipment, you have all the way up to like level 90 equipment that you can just have. So if you want to start, it's like, it's instead of being...
You can start with endgame equipment and go hunt Dracula immediately if that's how you feel.
Yeah, like, and that is the thing that clicked over. I was talking to Will and I was like, oh, it's like, this is like a World of Warcraft like private server, where it's just like, oh, I can just spawn in whatever the hell I want and we can just go have a good time. That makes this so much better a value proposition. And the fact that if I don't misunderstand, like these are client side servers, right? Like these are peer-to-peer, which means that it doesn't matter what happens with this company. Like, it's not going to be one of these situations where it's just like, we've been shut down by corporate overlords. And now this game won't exist.
You go create a server right now. It links you to the GitHub page, which has the actual server infrastructure needed to just set it up on your end. So yeah, absolutely P2P.
Which is awesome. I love that. I used to play games that were peer-to-peer, whether it was shooters or other stuff like that. And that was largely abandoned by the modern movement to move with like server farms on the publisher or developer side, which is great if you are looking for high quality connections for competitive games. However, it also means you are completely beholden to them to keep those servers running. And the second that they are not, you are fucked. And that kind of shit really pisses me off. So when I see something like this, where V Rising is saying, hey, come play our game. If you want to start up your own server, you have tons of options for, like, I think you can adjust like how much experience you get. Like you can adjust all of these modifiers. Yes. You can be like, all right, I want to have it where we're always weak vampires and like we're going to like see how far we can make it or something. Or we're going to make us all gods who like skyrocket in power all the time. And see what that does. Like, if
who
you
can
want
just
this
build
to be,
castles for free and so on.
You can crack this game over your knee if you want to, and that is beautiful in in a landscape where most modern games have gotten rid of the command prompt or developer key where you can just type in cheats and like, power overwhelming yourself into like invincibility and, fast build and whatever.
Hit the tilde key to open the console and start typing.
Yeah, a lot of those things are like, oh, you want to speed through this game? Oh, that's going to be a microtransaction. Oh, you want to customize how your character looks? That's going to be a microtransaction. And now with V Rising, these people are just going to be like, no. We're giving you the keys to the kingdom. Like,
because they aren't a AAA studio.
Just go have fun.
They don't have to. They don't want to. They're not beholden to that shit.
And I love that, and I applaud that. And that takes this from a game where I'm like, oh, it's fun, to like, yeah, I fuck with this game. I fuck with this game. I fuck with the devs who make this game. I don't know who did, but I love the fact that
they are Stunlock Studios. Their previous game was Battlerite, and before they were officially Stunlock, I think they did Bloodline Champions.
Okay.
Which the whole idea of both it and Battlerite were like, what if we made a MOBA without any of the grinding and just the battles, and everything is skill shot based and everything? Yeah, and it didn't quite take off. It had a decent start, but kind of dropped off. And Battlerite, again, similar thing. Very decent start, very good to begin with. And then a few questionable decisions. They tried to pivot to Battle Royale, didn't work out. Yeah. Then they did V Rising, and this has been much better pretty much the entire time.
Nice. Kris with the deep lore. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am, like, I'm not finished with this game by any means, but I am trying to coordinate with people to get more, to get some multiplayer sessions going. I have
the only reason I didn't join you when you asked is because like I was literally DMing a D&D game that day. I'm like, I really want to play V Rising though, so I will join you absolutely.
Yeah. So I've set up my own server. I just have to figure out how to like invite people to it. I've made my own clan, so I'm going to try to invite people to it. And
yeah, I can walk you through all that.
It's awesome. It also runs really, really well on the Steam Deck. So like, it's been awesome to be able to just watch, I've been watching Bridgerton season 3 and just playing V Rising on the couch. It's been awesome. So anyways, enjoy it. Go out there and have yourselves a morbid good time. Go ahead and morb all over those guys.
I appreciate you bringing that stuff up specifically because it's kind of frequently overlooked in a lot of the coverage and just discussions about it. Just, again, how modular and malleable this thing is. Like, it almost doesn't need mod tools or anything. It's all right there. If you want to fuck with that thing, go for it. Yeah.
Well, Kris, I am glad to address things that other people do not. It's almost as if I take my job as a critic seriously and like to highlight things that are good.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Who'd have thought?
It's almost like I've made it like my life's mission to create a better, more positive space for critics and people in the games industry. It's almost
like you're 300 episodes plus deep in a podcast doing exactly that. Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Who would have thought? But anyways,
we also cover books.
That is V Rising. Yeah, we are supposed to cover books. Oh, man. Anyways, yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, though.
I am happy. I am happy to be able to highlight that. It's very interesting. Being a critic for so long, when you first start, at least, well, I'm not going to speak for other people. When I first started, I was very hesitant to just kind of go out with not rock the boat, but go out without a more comprehensive understanding of what other people were saying. So like I would write a review or do a podcast episode and I would have already consumed like several, like I would form my own opinions. Then I would go out and like read either the Metacritic page and just kind of get like a vibe check or something. And as you become more established, or at least this is what has happened to me, I'm very curious about the both of you. What's happened is, as time has gone on, I've found myself not necessarily less. It's harsh. I'm not less interested in what other critics have to say, but I'm definitely not interested in seeking those out most of the time. Like, I'm content to just kind of like play
You're not
something.
concerned by it. You're not seeking that kind of validation or understanding. You are willing and able to just stand on your own opinion and thoughts and say, yep, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that's,
It's been very interesting because I have, over the years, one of the main things that I did with my ears was listen to gaming podcasts. And that has been less and less of a thing that I even engage with at all, as opposed to being like, oh, this is like the main thing that I listen to. And now it's like, okay, well, now I'm listening to like audiobooks and I'm not really reading a lot of criticism. I'm reading a bit, but it's largely on games that I'm not playing instead of ones that I am. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm kind of curious to see what other people think. But so it's very interesting to me that people are not talking about that. I wonder if it's because people are not playing multiplayer in it, or people are not like messing around with like playing in multiplayer and doing multiple things. Maybe they're just trying to get through the main single player content, or
possibly.
I don't know.
I would say it's more likely that than anything else, just because it's
just
like,
with time considerations and things.
Yeah. You only have so much time. It's probably just not intuitive to be like, oh, I should make a server
fuck with the settings,
dick around with the settings.
Just go in vanilla, normal difficulty, maybe hard difficulty, which is just straight off the gate, and then go for
it. That's kind of like what I did where the, but it seems to me, even if that was an afterthought, then you would still notice if you look through. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not here to throw stones or cast aspersions on anybody else. I think that's,
I don't know. I just don't see it come up all that much is the thing. Then again, I'm not seeing a huge amount of coverage for V Rising anyway. So
I think it mainly, the main thrust of its coverage was when it first launched into early access. At least that I heard of it was when people like first jumped in, and now it's hitting like 1.0 and it's, a different beast. But I definitely heard about this a while ago, which is like,
I think it helped that when it came out in early access, it was polished, playable, solid. There was a good chunk of it, like 80% of the game was there immediately. And it's like, and it played good, like straight away. So,
Anyways, all that to say, it's really good. I am very pleased with it. I am excited for this to be a very chill kind of cooperative experience, particularly in a world where Diablo itself has become increasingly predatory, and I just kind of have lost my desire to engage with it. So, anyways, not that they're the same thing. They are not the same thing at all. But like, isometric action games, hack and slash to an extent. But
just to respond to what you were saying a little bit. For me, I think as I've done this more and just kind of found I don't know, my voice, I guess, and what I'm interested in, I think the thing I've moved further and further away from is caring about being comprehensive in that way. I think one of the different ways that people will review games or think about reviews is some people will be like, well, I want to touch everything. I want to make sure I touch every part of the game and have something to say about every part of the game. And for me, I'm just kind of I want to approach a game organically. I'm playing the game, I want to tackle the game in a way that I would play a game just anytime, right? And there's going to be pieces of it that I'm just not interested in, whether it's multiplayer or some mode, or if I'm on a PC game, I'm probably not going to fuck around with the options that much because I don't really have the bandwidth for that. So there will be inevitably there will be pieces I miss depending on the game. And I think I would rather comment on the stuff that I was actually like drawn to.
Yeah.
And like actually like dove into and was interested in, then being like, well, okay, now I need to play like the multiplayer to have something to say about it, or now I need to do XYZ to have something to say about this part of the game that I'm only going to be touching because I feel obligated to.
Yeah.
Where it's like, instead, I'm going to be like, well, what do I think is interesting about this game? And then I kind of like focus on that.
Yeah.
Even if I, at the end of the review, maybe like there's a whole shitload of the game I didn't even talk about at all. But it's like, well, that wasn't interesting to me. I'd rather talk about this. And that's kind of where I end up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
For me, I definitely agree with that. I feel like the organic approach is best. Unfortunately, in our line of work, there often isn't a lot of option, or not necessarily flexibility, but at least as far as like the timetable that you would approach it in. Like if a game is 100 hours and you only have 2 weeks to beat it, it's like, well, that you're not going to play it the way that you would normally. Like the way that I played and beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the way that I would play it normally. If I was reviewing it, I wouldn't have been able to play it like that, where it was just like,
you wouldn't have been able to hit all the side quests and everything at your leisure. Yeah.
Maybe a couple of hours, like every other day, or like an hour or two a day or something like that is like, you know, that's how a normal, like, moderate to high level gamer would do it. Like if that is like your main hobby, you would play like maybe 1 to like 5 hours a night, depending on whether you were like a night owl who stayed up till all hours a night, or whether you kept like normal kind of standard hours. And like being able to do the sorts of things where we like shotgun games really fast is not really conducive to the experience. It can fuck with your understanding of the pacing of the game, or the intended pacing. And it can also make stuff that is tedious feel way more tedious because you have to ingest a lot more of it at a time.
That is true. Yeah. That's something I struggle with a lot, especially like difficulty, where it's like, fuck, am I more upset at this part of the game than I would be normally because of the like time
you can't take a break.
aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely stuff you have to
bashing your head
contend with.
against it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another thing where, and this isn't critique, but like there's also the other part about like, if you're doing something like post release, like if you're playing it like just as a player, you have access to a lot of other assets that we don't. You have guides, you have reviews, you have message boards and stuff. When we're reviewing these games, when we're writing guides for these games, we don't have any of that. I had to find every collectible in Halo Infinite with no help. Like there are like 116 of those motherfuckers in there, and they're hidden all over the goddamn place.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, they'll include like the occasional review guide will cover a lot of that stuff and be helpful in that. But like those are the exception more than the norm.
Even sometimes
I think I've seen
been
it
told
like
there was
once,
going to
maybe
be
twice.
Yeah, one time I reached out to somebody at the Coalition because I was doing the guide for Gears 5, and they were like they were supposed to send me something, and I just never got it. It's just like, well,
man.
Oh well.
Me and Jesse Vitelli working on the Axiom Verge 2 primo strategy guide.
Boston, holy shit.
Brutal.
While the game was still in active development while we were playing.
They have to be able to send you something for that. Like that is brutal.
There's some stuff happened that was funny. Like legitimately really funny. Yeah, we didn't have a high res map for that game until like we were almost done with it.
Yike!
It was fun.
Anyways, behind the scenes, but yeah, I totally agree. So
you are right. Like there are compromises, and I think it's important to like keep that in mind, right? So it's like, okay, it's like you have to think about it in a way that's like. It's almost like retrofitting it in your head to like, okay, I understand that like the way I went about this is different, but like, how do I kind of like do that reconciliation in my head when I'm writing about it. Yeah.
It's kind of like approaching games. Like a lot of people shit on like the like little phrase, fans of the genre will enjoy this or something like that. But it's like, that's a phrase for a reason. And there is a difference between saying something is good and liking it and saying you like it. Like there's, and as critics, like it is, other people don't have to differentiate between those two things, but we do. Like I can play a game and say, I don't like this, but it's great. You know what I mean? Like this does not resonate with me, but it is very high quality. And the people who this is for are going to fucking love it.
It's basically what I did in my Hitman 3 review. It's like, my brain is not good at these stealth games because I'm, again, perfectionist qualities. I'm just like, I have to do everything right the first time. And it ends to a lot of quick saving, quick loading. Gets in my head, but I'm just like, I can see how fucking good this game is.
Yeah.
Just like I could the previous ones. And those who will love it will love it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did that with X Defiant recently, which is, I guess it was lucky that it was like a free to play thing. So, I'll just agree to things like, hey, you want to play this? It's like, yeah, I do. I want to get paid. And I was like, oh shit, I just agreed to play something that I'm completely out of my wheelhouse on.
Yeah.
Congrats, you agreed to an Ubisoft game.
Yeah. Luckily, it was like a free to play game and it came out for everyone at the same time. So what I did is I actually just sat in like the subreddit and stuff and just like read what people were saying about it. Just to kind of like wrap my head around, all right, why is this game interesting to people who are into this? And then I like included that in the review. I was like, this isn't normally my thing. And I like dove in to see what it's all about. And here's all this extra context. It's like not something I would normally do if I like played something. I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing here. But
yeah,
that's another thing with like reviews is like, it's okay to be like, to go about it differently and then like talk about that as part of the review. I think that makes it interesting.
Yeah. Like when I did, oh God, what is it? What is the game? I did a preview of it. It is the Pirate something. Hold on. I've almost got it. Shadow Gambit. Shadow Gambit and the Cursed Crew. When I was talking about it and I was like, dang, like there are some systems in this game that are like really great. And somebody in the comments was like, oh, this guy's obviously not played any of the games that like, what is it? Kit Fox or like whatever the development studio is. Because they did this with like the Shogun like games and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, you're right. I didn't play those games. I played this one and it's great. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, it's the thing that Dan Stapleton talks about from time to time. Whenever people talk about it, usually comes around when like FromSoft games come out where people are like, oh, you had a guy who's super into these games review it. Obviously they're going to love it. And it's like, okay, we have two options. We can have somebody in who's super into the genre and is very knowledgeable about it to speak deeply about it. Or we can have a newcomer to the series do it for, and have their approach on it. Both of those perspectives are valuable. Which is going to be
either extreme, sink or swim.
Yeah. Both of those perspectives are valuable. Examining something with the context from the genre and extensive experience with it means that you can point out the places where it sticks the landing where other games don't, where it fails where other games succeed. And that is really valuable for people who are genre enthusiasts. And the newcomer perspective is great for people who like with Bloodborne, this is going to be their first one, or with Lies of P,
exactly,
or with whatever, like being able to be that's the reason why every show has like an audience insert character. Like Harry Potter, there's a reason why he was new to the school, and it's an excuse for the author to explain to you all the crazy shit that's happening. And having that with a critic is also a really helpful tool to be like, hey, this is my first game in the series. I had a lot of fun. So if you've been looking for a way to get into the series, this is probably a good one for you too for these reasons. Which is not necessarily something that an expert is going to know. Like Mitch isn't necessarily going to be aware. Mitch Saltzman isn't necessarily going to be aware of the great onboarding that a new FromSoft game is going to have, because he and me are so entrenched in those games that like we already know all of this. Like we just have this. It's really easy to overlook stuff that you already know and assume other people know it. And that is a trap that a lot of developers fall into as well. Because they are heads down on it. They are so close to it that they like, I've heard a lot of developers say like, we've been working on this so long, I don't even know if it's good anymore. Like I can't tell because I'm too close to it. And
getting that fresh perspective too. It's like, you're going to find feedback there that you wouldn't find from someone who likes it.
Yeah.
Like if they don't like it, it's like, oh, I don't like this because this reason. It's like there could be something in there to, correct for later. Maybe, maybe not, but it's still like you're just not going to hear that from someone who is having a good time.
Yeah. And there are a lot of criticisms.
Consensus is bad.
Even that some people that we know that have tried these sorts of games, like Will, has issues with Souls combat. He finds it really boring. Yep. And for me, I find it very relaxing, actually. Like I don't find it tense and stressful. I find it very comforting because it's very methodical. You have a lot of time to think. You are expected to take time to think. And so because of that, and because you can just systematically like check your corners when you walk into a room, keep your shield up when you're going into a new area, like these sorts of things, like, and then I systematically clear out the whole thing. And then it's like, okay, when I'm walking back through an area, like I don't have to have my shield up. Like I've already cleared it. Like I took care of it. So it can be a very like methodical and relaxing experience, which is not how most people view Souls. And so, people are, even if you're new, like that means you're going to be more aware of things that other people have just kind of taken for granted. And
exactly. Yeah.
And that means that you can highlight things that might not be highlighted by experts and people who have already crossed this bridge like so many times that like their footmarks are just worn into it. But anyways,
all those bloodstains, they're mine.
They're mine. Yeah, they're all mine. Don't watch them. It's very embarrassing. I was crushed by a beast.
But that's why it's so baffling when people get upset that like, the score is different from this score, so that person's trying to get attention, or like, why does the user score not match the critic score? And it's like, man, I want to hear takes on
you
both
shouldn't
sides.
You shouldn't go for just a singular review. If you're really interested, you need to read multiple. You need to get perspectives from all over the place, because a lot of the people who are complaining about that or bitching about scores or whatever, it's not that they want to read the opinion or they want to hold a thing. No, they want validation. I want person in perceived position of authority to match my feeling, and when they don't, I am offended. And
I cannot comprehend that. Like I do not understand that thought process at all.
Yeah, but that is a common thing, and it's something that I constantly have to push back against and tell people. It's like that's not how this works. You shouldn't just read one review or anything like that, and you should look for differences, because understanding the reviewer's perspective, their familiarity with genre, their preferences, etc., that lets you make an informed decision as to yours. If I know, because I know when you guys talk about something, our tastes are relatively similar in certain ways, there's probably something there for me. I know certain genres I don't particularly like, so I'm not likely to go on there. But if I hear that it's really friggin' good, then I might be willing to try that. If I hear that it's okay or just for fans of genre, it's like, that's not me. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's value in all information.
It's way more important, unless it's a small outlet. Like the platformers would be an example of like a small outlet where you could kind of take what we talk about as more of a whole, because there's way less variance than there would be for a big site. But like, don't look at it and be like, I really like IGN's reviews. It's like, well, that is a ridiculously broad
how
range
many
of people.
people
like, find critics, specific critics that vibe with you, back when
and the more you read a specific person, the more you'll get a feel from. Again, you will learn their preferences, you will learn what they like, what they look for, what matters to them. And again, like, ideally you would be coming to read their stuff because you want to read their stuff, because you like their writing style. But it can also be helpful because there's people who do not agree with my preferences at all, but I'll still listen to them because they have interesting stories to tell, interesting writing style.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
But then I can also use that to say, well, I may not like this game, or I may because I know it's a genre that I like and they don't.
Yeah.
You know? Information, always useful.
Yeah. The thing for me about that, about like just looking for people to affirm your own pre-existing opinions when you have not, as the player, played the game yet because it's not out. I don't.
That's just lunacy.
It's not. Yeah. It's not only that I don't have that drive to seek out stuff like that. I literally don't even understand what the purpose of that instinct or that drive is. Like I don't understand.
No idea.
I don't understand
because this game or this developer is now my personality. I don't have a personality of my own. I have transplanted this game in place of it because I have latched onto it. And any attacks against it are attacks against me, therefore. I know that sounds crazy and that sounds like really reductive, but that's how a lot of people act.
It's I just don't understand.
Remarkably common, and it shouldn't be.
But then if that's the case, then like I don't understand why you're even consuming critique about this thing at all. Like
they're not. They're not. They're looking for validation. That's it.
But why? But why would you even want that? I don't. That's the hang up that I have is like, of what value actually even is that? Like, if you're going to a critique and you're wanting it to affirm a thought that you have that is based in nothing other than your first impressions, why would you? I mean, it's just like people trying to explain.
I don't understand it.
What something means to the person who created it. It's like I don't understand where this even. What are you even trying to do? What is your goal here? Like what? Like you have to be. You have to have a goal with what you're doing. What is it? I don't.
The best I can assume is, again, they have attached their personality to this thing, and therefore any kind of praise or positivity or validation of it being good is therefore them being good because they have attached onto this thing that they perceive. And yeah, again, it's a search for validation, but how that happens or why that happens, that's beyond my wheelhouse.
This is a modern pathology that I find deeply disturbing, and I don't understand.
Oh, it is, and it's why I push back against it at all times. It's like, look, you don't have to take my word for it. You really don't.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, you shouldn't. If you don't agree with my opinion, that's great. Take the information, use it to make an educated guess about what you may or may not prefer in relation to me, and come back to me if you like what I write. For what I write, how I write it, not the opinion or the score I give, which is why I am so loath to give scores on my own personal stuff and only do it on outlets because it's just mandated at this point. We have to.
I feel like part of it is like there's that inherent desire to like be part of like the discussion or the conversation or whatever. It's like you want to be part of that conversation, but then there's like something that's not clicking in a way that's like conducive to being a part of a discussion instead of just like wanting to just sort of like I'm trying not to like insult people, but it's like to participate in discussion you have to be capable of like the back and forth,
actually
and
discussing,
be capable of like it's not just like I want to like vomit words out and then get angry when words come back at me that are different.
Yeah,
there's just like
that's not how this works.
A signal.
You have to be willing to agree to disagree. There will be things that we don't all like. We're not all the same. There's too many of us. There's too many variables.
Yeah.
Just that doesn't mean we have to be against one another. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I like the whole reason I'm like here is like I like to think about why I like something, and then I like to think about why I don't like something. And so that's why like taking in different perspectives and everything is like really helpful for me. And it's like also a reason it's like I don't like this game, but I'll like go and like play it anyways, and then maybe even give it like a second or a third chance just to like
I'll give it a shot. Yeah,
keep developing that. Yeah, but I don't know, just being like, oh, I like
I'm
this.
completely with you.
It's weird.
I want a true sequel to Morrowind, and I'm not getting it.
Hey, you're not going to get it from this Bethesda, I tell you that.
No.
Yeah,
you know what it's going to
not
be?
happening.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be like...
Oh, it exists. It's a Tamriel rebuilt mod by the community.
I was going to say what it's going to be is it's going to be like Wasteland 3. It's going to be like something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that for the Fallout crowd. You're going to have
Like
to
enough
wait.
people leave Bethesda over the years and then they come together.
And then they're like, hey, what if we actually did the thing that this used to do that people loved? You know, that's what it's
I'm
be.
crossing my fingers for Wayward Realms to be exactly what the sickos out there who are like, there hasn't been a true sequel to Daggerfall are saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. I completely get it. I vibe with that. Daggerfall isn't my thing as much as Morrowind and subsequent, but like, I hope it's what you want, really.
Yeah. That's like me. That's like me with the fucking Infinity Engine games. It's just like, bro, like, where the fuck did you all go? Come on. And then like we get Pillars, and then we get Tyranny, and then we get like all these other sorts of things. And it's like, we don't have that like Black Isle vibe. We don't have that, you know. Anyways. Classic BioWare.
Yeah, they got close, but not quite.
They got close. The best, seriously, still the best one that is
Tyranny
in the modern area is Tyranny.
Straight up.
Like straight up. If you're looking for that shit and you don't mind being evil, I mean, you don't have to be evil, but I definitely leading into evil in that game is good.
It's an interesting investigation into evil and being compliant with it, or how you exist in a society that is inherently evil.
It's actually great. Kind of like a Star Wars like Empire simulator, kind of.
Yeah,
it's like what would it be like working for the Emperor or Darth Vader?
And to actually stick to your guns, and to rebel against their system is incredibly difficult, and may not necessarily be the most fun experience in that game, but
it's good. It's
that's
really
the price.
Good.
That's the price you pay. Tyranny's
also, they
good.
build a really interesting world. That's another thing like Pyre, where it's just like, this is one of the more interesting.
Oh, the world is so good in
premises. Yeah. Oh God, the book and what it's made of. Oh, it's beautiful. Chef's kiss. Particularly as a fan of Lovecraft, and the fact that a lot of like modern quote unquote Lovecraftian stuff has just been, oh, the monsters have tentacles, and it's like, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, that's not what this is about at all.
The book and the reader and the ceremony in Pyre is more Lovecraftian than most of the things that are in Lovecraft games. Just because it's like, wait, why the fuck does this do that? What is happening? You have to do what? What's happening with the stars?
Mm-hmm. And that also has the more traditional Lovecraftian aspects with that one group of the Bog Witches who are just like, you know, I encountered them, heard their music, heard their themes and such. I'm like, I am never, ever letting you get to the surface. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah.
You will stay down here forever. I will not let you free.
Yeah.
I will not let you do this. This is, yeah.
Oh,
fuck, I love Pyre. Such a good game.
So good. That's a 10. That's a 10 right there.
That's a 10. The Supergiant does not miss.
They do not miss. And they missed the least with that game, I would say.
I still hold my heart out for Bastion, but like, they're all good. They're all different flavors of good. What can we say?
What can we say? Well, we can say more about some other games. How about we do that?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good segue.
Was this seriously an entire section just on like spinning out of V Rising?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how it goes.
Sometimes this is how it goes. We've been talking about that for
topic to talk about.
We've been talking about that for almost an hour.
Spinning out of not just V Rising, but V Rising's like settings menu.
Yeah, and then just into criticism and games media in general. Like we went places.
My lord, we've done,
and we didn't even mention Castlevania until this moment.
Yeah, and I never did. Yeah, man. It is so wild that we talked about like toxic self. We talked about books Then we talked about toxic self-criticism and audiobooks versus physical books. Then we talked about like mental well-being and making time for yourself. Then we talked about identifying with like being part of a fandom to the extent that you don't actually seek knowledge, but only validation that doesn't actually mean anything. Then we talked about V-Rising and the way that we critique games and how we're informed by our various experiences and stuff. Oh my Lord. I can't wait to see what this next game gets us into. Maybe it'll get us into the perils of AI.
Look at you, you pathetic hacker.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say Wabbit season versus Duck season.
Oh, but... I wasn't, but I could have. But
I think that's how we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah,
we'll cover this. First.
Yeah. But I've also been playing also on the Steam Deck, which is how I've done the majority of my gaming since I got it. Really, it's been like the main thing that I've been playing on, which has been great, is the System Shock remake. Oh my goodness. My brain is not getting enough oxygen right now.
I feel like you brought that up like a lot, and we haven't really gotten into what you think of it. Are we finally there?
We are finally there. We are finally there.
Yeah. Awesome. You're probably further than I am because I did like the first level area and then just kind of let it sit for a while and have not gone back to it.
I'm actually, so I stopped yesterday because I'm stuck. So I need to figure out.
Yeah, that sounds like System Shock.
There's a place that I got to where there's like a bridge, and I've looked all around and I can't figure out how to activate it. And so I need to go through. I need to get through here to get to another thing, to proceed on. Because I've done most of the things. I think I have security down to like 20% or something.
Which floor is this on?
Maybe 18% in the first area that you're in.
Okay.
So I think I've played for like 6 hours, maybe.
So I'm still just slightly ahead of you in terms of actual progress then.
Okay.
Because I got the security down to 0% on the first floor and then started the second, and that's where.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, let me check my time.
I should get my map for you so you can just see where the missing bits are.
Okay, that time that's not updated. Steam on my PC. I'll need to check the time on my Steam Deck, which should be updated because it says 2.6 hours, and there's no way that's true. I played way.
Well, I'm at 2.8 hours, and I cleared the first level, so I don't know.
Maybe it is. I thought for sure I'd played this for like 5-6 hours. I've played so much of this fucking game. How can it only be that long? Anyways, okay.
That's
whatever.
not a good sign.
So maybe that.
I mean, it might be.
Well, I mean, it
feels so immersive and tense, and you're in there for hours.
I mean, I'll just tell you straight up. Like, I got a review key for this. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think the thing that I mainly mentioned last time that I talked about this was I don't like how fiddly the inventory is. I do prefer the way that BioShock ended up handling inventory and BioShock 2 and stuff like that. Not so much Infinite, but I think BioShock 1 and 2, the inventory system and all the stuff that you've got is like, I dig it. I also find it's set up for PC, so it doesn't really look like a console game, and it doesn't have like you walk up to a store and then it'll give you a little prompt to hit A. It's like, no, you have to like punch buttons and stuff. Like you have to
interact with the buttons. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not as approachable in that way or like other ways because of like the knock-on effects of how PC centric and PC focused this game is. So it is totally fine to play it on gamepad and on Steam Deck, and it runs really well on Steam Deck and it looks great. But I feel like not playing with a mouse is making it probably a little fiddlier. So I'm planning on playing a bit on my PC tomorrow, and playing it with a mouse and keyboard and seeing how that strikes me. But currently, I'm really enjoying playing it on the go, picking it up between times when I'm just like kind of poking around, sitting on my Steam Deck. But I'm
trying to remember if this is a game that actually invented mouse look or if it came after, like the original. That gives you an idea of how old the original was, and so a lot of the problems and such, like the inventory and things like that, pretty much directly ported from the original. Like, it is a very, very faithful remake. It's not a reimagining.
Okay.
So yeah. So it's understandable if there is a lot of clunk or whatever. That's because the game is like 30 years old at this point. But yeah, they were just like, no, we're going to be very faithful to this. We're going to do it justice. We're going to give it a tune up. We'll give it some accessibility and tweaks and things like that, especially in the cyberspace levels, because God knows they were awful originally. But yeah, they've done a good job with it for sure. But there is still just a lot of jank by virtue of the age.
Yeah. And that's definitely true. I also find like the way that it handles like vaporizing stuff versus scrapping it for currency is like a little weird. Like,
it's very fiddly, yeah.
And but these are all things that like I don't mind. These are artifacts of an older, like a previous time that came before, as far as games are concerned. So I don't mind it. It is just like very different. I do like what it is doing, and I like generally I like how it's doing it. And also, like, I knew going into this that I'd be looking at the precursor to BioShock, and so I kind of had much in the same way that like when you're going back to Demon's Souls, like there are some things that people will say it does better than even the later entries. Like the fight against the Storm King is like still an all-time FromSoft boss fight. However, the way that they do consumables and stuff is like really antiquated and is not it. Like they really, when they invented the Estus Flask for Dark Souls, like that was a huge change in how these
That's an
games
industry
felt.
changer. Yeah.
And so there are things that BioShock did that System Shock doesn't do that I miss. But I am still having a really fun time approaching it on its own terms, kind of being educated in the way that this whole thing kind of kicked off. And I'm not sure whether people consider, I know that
it's arguably the first immersive sim.
Yeah.
Some would say Ultima Underworld, I think, but
when did Deus
System
Ex
Shock is in
come
contention.
along?
Oh, Deus Ex is after System Shock 2. And like, I played Deus Ex first, and then I went back to System Shock 2 and went, oh, Deus Ex isn't actually that special at all. It is, but like, yeah, it looks so much like System Shock 2 in terms of play and everything. I was just like, oh, I see.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's wild. For some reason, I thought Deus Ex was older.
No, it's, I think it came out, I think it was 2000 and System Shock 2 was 99, and then 1 was 95, I want to say. Just off the top of my head. Probably completely off base.
If that came out in 95, then System Shock came out around the same time as Super Metroid, which is crazy.
23rd of September, 1994. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
Wow. Okay.
Old.
That's really, I mean,
this only follows up Doom by like 2 years at tops.
Yeah, I was saying we're like in Quake territory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're like in Quake and Doom territory here. That's really nuts.
Fucking formative. So much of what we know of modern game design and such came from both this and then from how they polished it up in System Shock 2. Because System Shock 2 is an all-timer. Like, it's fascinating. I'd be very curious to see how if you went from the remake of this into System Shock 2, because I owe both a full playthrough. Because I've dabbled in System Shock 2, never finished it. But like, yeah, I would love to see how much of what you think is an innovation by BioShock on that formula was actually there.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, after this, like I'm probably going to do that. Particularly if that's like Steam Deck ready. If I can get a hold of that and play it on there.
I'm not sure about that one. It got a re-release thanks to Night Dive's efforts, like they pretty much formed to get System Shock 2 on systems.
Yeah.
Because it was in like illegal hell for a while, so there wasn't any purchasable version for a while.
Is it on GOG now?
It came out on GOG when it came back, and so I have it on GOG. So
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I have access to GOG on my Steam Deck through Decky or something. I forget what it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or no, through the
no, I know.
What is it? Heroic. You know, the Heroic Games thing. You actually have access to GOG through there. So that's how I've been playing Cyberpunk and stuff like that. So like, I'm sure if it's on there that it'll run. So I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I'll definitely check that
System
out.
System Shock 2 came out in August 1999, so 5 years later. But it was originally not designed as System Shock 2, and they pivoted it afterward.
Interesting. I'm interested to see how that also informs stuff.
And Deus Ex was June of 2000, so just under a year after.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Dang. Yeah, I was wondering which came first, because Deus Ex, I know, is a lot of people's like kind of go-to immersive sim. Or as
the fact that we have mentioned this game means someone hears it and is going to reinstall the game now. That's the
yeah, or also, you know, truncated to ImSim, or also I've heard called way long ago Vent Crawler. So there you go.
Not inaccurate.
There's a little throwback for you. But yeah, I dig it. I'm enjoying it. I think that it's very interesting the way that the story for this kicks off. I love it. I think the premise is fascinating, and
it's so 90s, isn't it? The intro.
It's so 90s, but it is also, because of how things are happening in our world now, it's also very now. Like, it's fascinating, you know. But yeah, I dig it. I don't really have a lot to say other than like the stuff that I've said so far.
30-year-old game jank, yeah.
Yeah, but and like, you know, there is, you've got audio logs in here like you do in BioShock, and you can set those in the options to autoplay when you pick them up, which I did, and it's very great. Like, that is a great thing where you can just like do that. I think that is a change from the way that the game used to be.
I believe so, yeah.
Which
it did have audio logs originally, but you had to like,
stay there or whatever to listen to them. Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. It's satisfying to sneak around and smack people with a wrench. Like, you know, it's a good time. I'm having a good time with it. There's also granular difficulty. There's 4 different difficulty selectors that you can do.
That was the thing that the original had as well. Which was a really, really interesting fact of it. Because you could tweak, I think the options were combat, puzzles, timer, and cyberspace. So basically you had a difficulty setting for each of them.
Yeah. So if you didn't,
affected different things. So you turn the puzzles down, basically no puzzles. Turn the combat down, it's easy. Turn the timer off, or turn it all the way up, and you have like 2 hours to finish the game. It's like, good luck.
Yeah. So do you know if there's a way to change the difficulty after you start?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So you can't get in to the game, play it, be like, oh, I don't like this part of it, let me turn down the difficulty. That's a little...
No, unfortunately, that's again, relic of the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was expected that if you're going to try this stuff, you will attempt, fail, start again a few times, especially given that there is a timer on it. So, like, I always disable the timer because I'm that kind of person, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
the default setting has like you have 12 hours to finish the game, or else the station blows up Earth, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm definitely going to be talking about more. I'm going to get past the point where I'm at now, and I will definitely have more. I will definitely have more thoughts. Let's compare notes, and I'll figure out how to get past the thing, because I just fought this like medical droid that was hovering around. And then it's like he floated to me across a gap, and like I don't know how to do that. I've stumbled across some really bizarre solutions to problems, and it's just like, yep. I can definitely see how Prey drew from this, for sure.
Mm-hmm. It all started with the System Shocks.
Yeah, but yeah,
and Ultima Underworld.
I dig it. That's really all I have to say about that. So,
Good stuff. Curious to hear more. Curious to play more.
yeah. All right, Lucas, segue us home.
Yeah. So the System Shock stuff was just like, I've always
Speaking
been
of weird
curious about that game.
multiverses,
There you go. Yeah, so I've been playing Multiversus a lot. I had been playing Multiversus since it came out the first time. So this has been kind of a weird thing of like really enjoying a game, then having like the weird drama that happened, then it going away for like a year, if not a little longer.
Yeah.
And now it's back, and there's more drama. So it's been like a weird back and forth, kind of upstairs of like,
I can't wait for the No Clip documentary about this game, seriously.
oh my goodness. Yeah, so this is a game that has a lot of issues, but I think at the end of the day, I still really, really have been enjoying my time with it. Because I think at the core of it, there's just a lot of enthusiasm and like love for. I don't want to just be like for like the source materials and stuff, but just like for this game and for like what it could be. That I think is really like tangible, in like a way that's kind of rare, which has really clouded my judgment when it comes to like microtransactions and stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause
the
you can,
devs
like-
really love and care and want the game to succeed. Unfortunately, they work for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they are a very small team that has a project on them that it's not something just a small team should be, thrust upon. And there's a lot of problems resulting from that. But to rewind a little bit, Multiversus is a platform fighter like Smash Bros. That's like Kris said, it's WB. So you got like Looney Tunes, you got like various other like cartoon characters. You've got characters from like live action movies. Jason Voorhees is in there. Mr. Agent Smith from The Matrix is in there. Game of Thrones is in there. It's like a little everything. It's like
Some DC
very
heroes
much
in there, I think.
Yeah, a lot of superheroes. So it's very much like Warner Brothers being a giant corporation that has hoovered up lots of IP over the years is just very fertile ground for this kind of thing. They have wielded it like a very shoddy cudgel with things like Space Jam 2 and Ready Player One, which are both just awful, awful, awful things.
Yep.
But here, it makes sense because it's just a silly video game like Smash Bros, which is just like that. That just seems to be one of the best ways to do a crossover. And it's weird that there hasn't been one since Smash that's really like hit.
There were attempts. The
Several
PlayStation
attempts.
All-Stars one, but yeah.
There was like a Ninja Turtles one on the Wii that people seem to like, but nobody really played. There's Brawlhalla, which has kind of been trucking along. Some other ones. Multiversus again seemed to be like the one that was going to do it.
Yeah.
Had a lot of money behind it. Had a really great debut showing at Evo. Even now, like it's had a lot of people playing it, but it just can't get out of its own way. But I think like again, like the foundation of this game is really good. The for better or worse, 1.0 came out, and I think in terms of playing it, it's the best the game has been. But then,
Well, that's
of
an
course,
upside at least.
yeah. But like in the process of kind of putting it back on the shelf and working on it, bringing it back, they moved it from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5. and the compromise they apparently had to make was not fully completing all the kind of, I hesitate to say it, but basic stuff that was there the first time and isn't there anymore, which is really weird. And it's weird that they didn't say anything about it until people complained, and then they were like, "Yeah, all this stuff is supposed to be there. We just didn't have the time to put it all there."
They really don't know what they're doing with it, like the entire thing. And again, like I'm sure the devs are doing the best they can, but just when the rug was pulled that first time, they're like, "Oh, we're unreleasing it. Oh, it was never actually fully released, even though it was totally fully released."
Yeah,
and just all of that back and forth is like they don't know what they want from it. And I'm certain just Warner Brothers is just there breathing down their neck and just making everything worse.
Yeah. And historically they have had to be really reactive. Like they've got their foundation that's really good. But then like there will be problems. Like there will be a bug that like affects the balance, or like the hitboxes will be funky. And it's stuff that's probably like really hard to predict ahead of time until like you've got live players. But then because the team is so small, making those adjustments is really hard. And inevitably like they'd fix one thing and then come back and something else would be broken. And it's like you really get like a real-time look into like how hard it is to make a game.
And it cuts into forward development as well. They can't make new stuff while they're trying to patch fires on the old stuff.
Exactly. So the new stuff slows down, and then the new stuff will have problems too, and it's just like...
And that sees, in a free-to-play game, that sees a player bleed, and you don't want that, because that's going to happen no matter what. But after a point, you hit the critical mass, and then, live service game dead, off to the graveyard with it. Which I hope doesn't happen.
And luckily, like it could have easily happened, I think, before they like shelved it.
I never expected it to actually come back. I thought that was like,
you didn't?
Hand waving it.
Yeah.
I don't trust Warner Brothers. If my tone hasn't made that very clear.
Yeah, I mean, like, since that happened, like that's when all the really bad stuff with Warner Brothers happened. I'm pretty sure, like, if I remember right, I could be wrong on this, on the timeline, but it was after Multiversus went down was when like all the shit about like canceling movies for tax breaks and layoffs and all the really weird stuff started happening. I think after Multiversus shut down. I could be wrong on that, but that's how it feels in my head. But either way, like that's the company we're dealing with in front of this.
I need only look at Shadow of War, and just how that was that and Battlefront 2 were the ones that broke the loot box.
They were on the front lines of the loot box wars. And like
they went so far that they killed it for everybody afterward.
Yeah, and that game never was able to recover.
Nope.
So like all that stuff aside, I just I had to get all that out of the way because that's a mess. But I'm still playing it and having a really good time. And I think it's because despite everything, I think the way they've approached the game at its core was really smart. Because I feel like they could have tried to like mimic Smash Bros. In a way that like all these other guys are doing, but instead I think they really started looking at it like a fighting game, like capital F fighting game. But like they did it within reason, so they didn't like try to go too far and then like shoot themselves in the foot that way and be like, why is this game so hardcore? It's Smash Brothers. But they sort of like found
a good middle ground.
They found what feels like a really good sweet spot.
Yeah.
Especially now. So like when the game was in open beta, it was really fast, and now they've like slowed it down a lot and kind of they made the character models a little bigger. They pulled the camera in a little more, but it like moves when stuff happens.
Yeah. There's more variance in the gameplay as well.
Yeah. It feels like a game that's very close to Smash Bros, but has more mechanical depth to it. And it runs at a speed that I think really allows that stuff to like stand out and like matter and like be felt in the moment to moment gameplay instead of it just being like chaos all over the screen and move spamming and all the stuff that was kind of happening before. And like people certainly liked it because people, I think, intuitively like fast competitive games because that feels good. But I think you kind of lose like visibility of the nuance when it's at speed. Whereas here, I think that visibility is really heightened. And just like, I think, like, I understand why people are like, oh, it's really slow. But I think like the more people are spending time with it, the more it's like, oh, actually this is good. Like you saw people like Hungry Box, who was initially like, this is really slow, this is crazy. And then like they ran a tournament like over the weekend and they were like, oh shit, this is actually really good. And like the tournament, it's really good in the competitive setting. And I think that's really going to stand out. And if they iron out the like more controversial parts of it, like the biggest thing that was just like so comically like there's no way this was done on purpose, was it? It was like
you talking about
before
Iron Giant?
No, because like that kind of thing happened before too. But so before it's a free to play game, right? So that inevitably comes with the money part, and the money part was unlocking characters.
Sure.
And you either pay the money to get the characters, or you can play the game and then get the currency and unlock them, blah blah blah. But if you played offline and played local multiplayer, everything was unlocked, so you could play as all the characters. You just couldn't go online and competitive play and play with other people with those characters. 1.0 comes out, all the characters are locked for everybody. And I was like, what the fuck? And immediately, like, people running smaller tournaments are like, what are you doing? Like, you were supposed to be like the cool fighting game Smash Brothers. We can't run locals like this. There's no way. Yeah.
You were the chosen one.
Yeah. You're supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
Headlines are coming out. It's like it's going to be $200 something to unlock all the characters. You can't run tournaments like that. It's unsustainable. Yeah. And of course, it comes out later. It's like there was an accident. We're definitely going to address this. We were supposed to be like this in the first place, but it's like once that Pandora's box opens, it's, you know, you can only cram everything back in so well. So like I am worried about the like longevity of the game because of that. But hopefully, like, when that stuff does get addressed, they've already said it will, that'll give more room for, like, the actual good parts of the game to breathe. And, like, it's really hard to, like, overstate, like, how good, how smart, like, a lot of the gameplay and, like, the way the characters are adapted is. Like, back when the game was new, I wrote a piece about it. I was like, man, this game sure did look stupid when it was announced. Like, why is this good? And I played it and I was like, holy shit, this is so good.
Yeah.
And my favorite example is Tom and Jerry in this game. They're really similar conceptually to like Duck Hunt and Smash Bros. Whereas like if you zoom out at Duck Hunt and Smash Bros, it's like you're not playing as the character. You're playing as somebody off screen playing Duck Hunt on the NES.
Yeah.
And it's like happening in there. And with Tom and Jerry, it's like you're playing Tom and Jerry, but they're not giving a shit about anything that's going on around them. Like it's Tom and Jerry just trying to kill each other like in a cartoon. And it just happens
to take things out when they miss or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, that's so awesome. Smart. Yeah. And it's just like stuff like that is like all over the game.
Yeah, that's great.
And then even when it's like a more straightforward character, like Jason Voorhees is one of the new ones.
Dude, he's so fun.
Like, he's so fun. Like most of the time, yeah, he's like swinging his machete around or whatever. But then other ones, it's like he pulls a collapsible camp bed out and smushes it over his top of his head. Like that's a kill from one of the movies. Or like he'll bring out a sleeping bag and like catch someone out in it, and you can just like bang the sleeping bag around and like throw it. Just like,
and it's great because they've also accounted for this. Like there was Lucas and I were playing the Rifts together, and I was playing as Jason, and one of the sub goals for the level, like one of the little things that you can do to get like extra points or stars or whatever. I'm not really sure what that is for. Well, that like what doing those does for me, but one of those was trap one of your enemies in Jason's like sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like, you know,
It's so good. Like just the attention to detail. Like they have all these little cutscenes that they've released as like the character trailers and stuff, but they're in the game too. And it's just so much work is like put into like just making these characters feel like authentic and everything, which is like, that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but it just really comes right out of the game as you're playing it. And Brian mentioned rifts. That's like they have this whole new like not single player, but like PvE mode that's got all these different like themed sets of levels with all these other like unlocks attached to it, and that's really cool. Like tons of effort was put into that. And like part of that inevitably is like you run into the bad side of it where it's like it's tied to grinding, so much grinding. And it's not necessary to engage with, but it's like they have Agent Smith.
which, Agent Smith is cool.
You have cat aggro.
Sorry. Yeah, just sounds really weird. But to get Agent Smith early without having to pay money or unlock currency for him, you have to play the Rift game mode over and over and over again, because it's like you get points on the thing based on every boss you fight. And to fight a boss, you have to go through all the levels. And then each set of levels has different difficulty settings. And it's something like 20 to get him. And, you know, intuitively people are going to be like, oh, well, that means I need to go and like immediately run through and get every single boss and every single difficulty. And it's like they're going to be rolling out additional sets of levels throughout. I think it's like July or whatever, but
something like that.
Yeah. Even if it kind of makes sense and evens out, people are going to look at that and go like, oh, this game wants me to sit here and just grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. And it's hard to say how the balance actually works out or not, but it's like, just, it doesn't look good. And probably if this was a different video game, it would probably definitely be tooled differently, but it's just that constant, like, running into those things.
How much is Warner Brothers and how much is this and that and the other thing, and
and how much of it is just like how hard is it to tune that in a way, because like with free to play games there is a balance you have to hit where you still have to like be welcoming and inclusive to the people who aren't spending money, because if they don't stick around,
build a player base without it.
Exactly. And that's just like, I can't imagine actually trying to like figure that out. You know,
it's not easy.
And like
the
juju's
just disregard
bad.
that entirely and do what League of Legends did and put out a $500 skin.
Jesus Christ.
You can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. No one likes that. No one thinks good of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to throw that tangent because I'm still pissed.
No, that's crazy, man. There's definitely skins that cost money in this game, and they're probably expensive. And there's a lot you can unlock for free too, but you have to go through the motions. And I don't know. Long story short, I really like Multiversus a lot, and it's pulling the wool over my eyes in terms of like, you know, glossing over its
faults.
Yeah.
You like it despite itself.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot. Brian, I'm curious what you think overall.
Well, so we covered this a lot when it first came out. I wrote tier lists and character guides for IGN for Multiversus when it originally came out. I don't think I actually covered it, but Multiversus was at Evo and I did watch that. I was getting deep into that game. Like I was playing a lot online with Will and with some other people as well. And yeah, so Will plays Wonder Woman. And so he's definitely hoping that she gets buffs until she's just absolutely cracked and ridiculous. Cause
she's already good.
Yes, she is good. She is good.
But is she top tier good?
Yeah, and I have played when the game first came out, I played Jake, and then I pivoted over to Finn a little bit before settling on Superman as my main character. I also played Taz, and I think Will also played Taz when he was easily
Taz.
top one. Still super fun character. So covering the game during that time and then not getting it pre-release, but hearing the scuttlebutt about how bad the monetization and stuff is, I definitely expected it to be way awful. But I've not delved into that just yet. All the stuff that I had unlocked originally during the game is still unlocked, and they make it a point to point out to you that if you have currency or costumes or perks or whatever, they will give you the approximate currency to unlock those same things again, so you can be where you were, even though they've kind of sealed all that stuff away, which I do think is interesting. I like that. If they were going to do nothing else, I do respect that as a move to be hey, we took away your progress, but we're going to give you enough currency to where you can get back to where you were if you want to. And if you want to spend it on something else, totally fine. You can do that too, which
they gave the first battle pass for free to everyone who came back from the beta, which is really cool.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that. That's interesting, because I was oh, they're not going to charge for the battle pass, but okay, that makes sense.
No. So everyone gets Jason for free if you came back from the open beta.
Nice. So there's that, but also I've looked in at it and it's been I don't have Joker yet, and I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to unlock him. But I looked in the premium thing, and I think I've played 50 hours or roundabouts 50 hours total on the game between the open beta and just a few, I don't remember, Lucas, how long we played earlier today, but it's basically couple hours. And then I've played maybe another hour last night, just cracking it open on my Steam Deck, downloading it, and showing my daughter Riley, who loves Adventure Time, that you can play a fighting. She loves Street Fighter and Guilty Gear and all these other fighting games and stuff, even though she's only 4. And so I was hey, check this out. It's a fighting game, but you can play as Adventure Time characters and Batman. Yeah. And she loves Batman and Adventure Time. And she's I want to do that.
That's awesome.
So she's I want to play as Jake. I want to play as Finn. I want to play as Batman. And so that's just been awesome to be able to show that to her. With all of that, I have all of these things, and coming back with all of those and then seeing how things have changed. It's kind of like previous iterations of Smash Brothers, where it's okay, so we have classic Smash Brothers where there's arcade mode and that's it. And then you get into, what was it? Wii or Brawl
Melee
or something. And it's you have the what is it? The space...
Subspace Emissary.
Brawl had Subspace Emissary.
Yeah, you had Subspace Emissary. And now with Smash Brothers Ultimate, you have the Spirit board and the sprawling,
there is a big adventure board thing with all different modifiers on the different stages and stuff.
And you can get a bunch of spirits and things like that. And this kind of feels like Subspace Emissary levels of progression. So if you're looking at this from the Smash perspective, having them go from, oh, you can play this game in training sessions versus CPU, or you can play online multiplayer and that's it. And now you can play co-op multiplayer against a rotating story as you go through these rifts in kind of a multiplayer Subspace Emissary thing. I was surprised. I like that a lot, actually. I think that's fun. And
Yeah.
there are little, I fully, Lucas, I think you'll appreciate this. When I popped into one of the little interstitial missions where they have you smash all the targets, I heard like I had that going in my head because that's what happens in the original Smash Brothers. Smash the targets. Like they added those little things in as like little palette cleansers, or like the little tank missions where you're in a tank and there's going to be some aliens, like asteroid style, like floating across the screen, or I guess Galaga or whatever.
Space Invaders.
There you go. Whatever.
They get really silly with that stuff. It's really cute.
Yeah. And there's a lot of weirdness in there that I really appreciate. And I think is also, you were talking about, I forget the phrase that you used to describe it, but we were kind of talking about the way in which they evoke, the way in which Player First Games and Warner Brothers has like evoked the vibe of the characters through this game. But I also feel like this game also captures the thing that Smash Brothers does best, which is tonal consistency. Because not only does Jason Voorhees act like a murderous killer, but he also doesn't look out of place next to Finn, the human boy from Adventure Time.
True.
Which is
Jason is very cartoony in like a really fun way. Yeah.
And in a really silly way. Like, and it's like, I'm not like, my daughter is inevitably going to ask me, who is that? And like, I'm going to be like, we're not talking about Jason. We're not talking about Friday the 13th. You're not allowed to watch this, but at the same time, or like Agent Smith is coming, or the joke, there are so many ways in which, we have Arya Stark looking at home next to like Agent Smith, and it's weird. There's a degree to which it's weird in the same way that like Solid Snake in Smash Brothers is weird. Like it's weird. It's definitely weird, but at the same time, like it fits.
It doesn't clash.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't clash. And I feel like that's really, I again, like we were talking about earlier, I have not been consuming criticism about this game. I don't know how people are talking about that, but I think that's a really laudable part of this game. They have a tonal consistency, and I feel like the loopiness of the rifts and the kind of, Batman's putting together a team to fight off this like other universally. Is it other? Okay, how do you otherworldly from another world? Other universally? That's not right, right? Multiversally?
It's almost like it's a multiverse.
I don't know how you say that, but anyways, but they have unified it in a way where it doesn't feel. I mean, it feels weird, but it feels of a piece.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the most interesting things about it. Given that, and the way that they've added. I mean, they're literally called rifts, and you get gems that level up as you do rifts. Like it's Diablo, straight up, while you're playing Subspace Emissary. But it keeps the thing of like, let's balance our perks as a team. Let's go into this. Let's strategize. Let's do that. They've also got the more perspectives. The characters feel better. I played Finn previously. I think he feels better now. I don't know if he's as powerful, but he feels better to play. Lucas, you were saying they moved from UE4 to UE5. So like there's that whole thing. I don't know if it's just confirmation bias or something, but I feel like games that run on UE5 feel differently than ones on UE4. Like for whatever reason, they just feel smoother to me. I don't know whether that's because I've played most of those on a powerful PC or my PS5, or whether that's like actually a benefit of the engine, but it feels good. So yeah. I'm really excited. Like with V Rising, this is something that I'm like, if people are like, hey, I want to jump into this, I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. And I don't care if I'm going online for like, multiplayer, like PvP or something like that, or whether we're just doing rifts or something. Like I'll gladly shoot the shit and like hop into a little tank to shoot little hot dog dynamite UFOs with my buddies.
Yeah. And, like, all the like daily missions and weekly missions and everything, like like they're not like Fortnite where they can just be like absurdly specific and like kind of a pain in the ass to do. It's like, oh, play
You
a
have to change your
play a
entire
bruiser
game plan in order
character
to do it. Yeah.
and do side attacks or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like pretty simple stuff. It's just like you can knock it out, and like that's fine for me to just like have that sort of like truncated. Oh my god, I completely blanked on the word, but encouragement to play, but not to play a ton. Incentive. Thank you. Yeah, like that seems totally reasonable to me. It's like it doesn't want you to sit there and play it for several hours a day unless you really want to. And like that's cool.
Which I like, and it is also something that I'm into because I am opposed to this sort of extrinsic motivation for playing a game. I bristle at that, and so I'm glad that as much as it is annoying that it is still present with this, like it is unobtrusive comparatively, which I think is laudable.
Yeah.
Now, as I play more and I get into like the microtransactions and stuff, this is something I meant to mention. I went into the premium shop, and I saw the Batman Who Laughs legendary skin in there, which is very cool for the Joker. However, even with playing it for 50 hours, a total throughout the open beta, and now I only have 39,000 of the currency it requires to buy him, and he costs 100,000. So it's like, and that is one legendary skin for one character. So it's like, on that front, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I would need to do to build up whatever the extra currency it is in the amounts that I would need versus having to pay or whatever. It is free. So it is one of those things where it's like, that economy, like it depends. Cause it's like, there's the thing with Street Fighter where it's like Street Fighter added like the like official TMNT tie-in where like you could buy a really good looking Donatello outfit, but the price was like $25. And I'm like, no, that's out of control. Like I've only bought, I think, one Fortnite skin or maybe two. Like I definitely got Gohan because he's my favorite character in like my favorite anime ever. And they added him, and I'm like, okay, I got Gohan.
You got me.
I'm good. And I wouldn't have even got him, but they gave him the purple demon key, and it's like this is literally my favorite version of my favorite character in all of anime. Like I'm getting him, you know.
Yeah.
But like even so, that was only one. Now, if they give me for like Multiversus or whatever, if it's like $2-3, sure, I'll absolutely do that. It's not gonna be, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it is, but like. People are developers and publishers in particular are pushing people to like milk every penny that they can out of people. And I really wish that this stuff was unlockable by like doing stuff like earn an achievement in the game and get like a really cool costume, participate in an event and get like
how it
something.
used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. Like we were talking about.
Turns
with,
out
like,
the cosmetics are part of your games.
Yeah.
You would just get them as you did them.
Yeah.
Nowadays, nickel and dime that shit, and not okay. It just means I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Star Wars The Force Unleashed or The Force Unleashed 2. You could get all kinds of crazy outfits in that game. You could become like a
Guybrush Threepwood in the second one.
But like,
crazy.
You know, you could get all kinds of like lightsaber color customizations and stuff like that. And now it's like, okay, well, if you want to be Superman, but you're wearing like a beach outfit, you got to do this entire battle pass. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, just...
Yeah.
But anyways...
They want you locked into the ecosystem, so you're more encouraged to buy... it's just, fatigue. They cater on fatigue.
They kind of... In this game, they kind of do a little bit of everything. So there will be like, here's a holiday event, and you can get those for free if you participate in the event. But then it's like, there's the battle pass stuff, and then there's the stuff that you can only just buy. So they kind of do a little bit of everything. When I got the game, I have more than enough of that special currency to get the Batman guy and some other stuff, but I don't really. I'm holding on to it because I don't care about. But I was also playing the game almost every day, and like I had a lot of skins from like the holiday events and cosmetics from so I don't know. It's hard to tell what the math on that is, but theoretically, I don't know if they're gonna like rotate stuff out of there or what. But if you play the game, it will give you cosmetics for free, which will give you that currency, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, seems like they're at least trying to like do stuff that free players can get and play with. But
yeah. And I respect that. I am excited to play more, you know? Like I'm going to play more. So
oh yeah.
It should be fun. So anyways.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that like things come together and people are at least like not finding very, very obvious things to be upset about. Because they're not wrong to be upset about some of this stuff. Like some of it's like stuff from the options menu that's not there anymore, which just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Once that stuff's ironed out, I hope like they can get some more like, you know, some more dubs. I feel like that team's been through a lot.
Yeah. And also this is not an easy type of a game to make. So.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
It is very
Warner
Brothers.
Games balancing and dealing with a ton of IP holders.
Yeah.
Who want things to be handled in a certain way is like, man.
It's very Warner Brothers that they commissioned a very small independent developer to make this game.
And demanded so much of them.
Yeah. It's like Christ.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I don't know if you do, but we're definitely, as with all these other games, like we're definitely going to be talking about this more in the future.
Yeah, I certainly intend to keep up with Multiversus for a while.
Yeah. And you'll have a partner in me if you want one. So.
Hell yeah.
I dig it. I just need to figure out if I'm going to stick with Finn or if I want to go back to Superman. Who knows? It's tricky. It's hard out there.
Okay, no, let's start.
Could be some brand new character next season that changes everything.
That's true. And Joker is a mage type character, which means he's probably got some nonsense. So once I unlock him,
he's got a lot of nonsense.
who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll play him. Maybe he'll be super fun. But
yeah.
Anyways, did we have anything else? I know we've been going. This has been a really long. The past couple of episodes have been really super long, which is crazy.
I wouldn't know. I missed half of it.
That's true. That's true. But hey, Australian internet came through for us this time.
For now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Australia.
Nice.
Yes, thank you for doing what I pay you to do.
Yep.
If only it were that easy.
That's pretty wild. All right. Well, anyways, thank you for hanging out with us for episode 314 of the Platformers. I've been here for a long time, guys. And I'm not going anywhere. So, if you want to see what I'm up to, you can follow me on social media. I'm at Ribnax, Ribnax on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. And I am Brian Barnett on Blue Sky and Backlogged. So yeah, I don't really have anything going on currently that you can check out. But if you want to read some of the stuff that I've done lately, you can check out my preview for Cataclysmo at IGN. Really, really fun game. You should definitely check that out. Listen to my dulcet tones in the YouTube preview video, which is full of capture that I did and voiceover that I did. So check that out.
I am Kris Cornelise. You can find me at my website, versusthebacklog.com, vsthebacklog.com, one word. You can find me on most games and across the internet as Delfeir, Delfeir. And that's really about it at the moment. Not a lot going on my end. How about you, Lucas?
Yeah, Lucas White. You can find me on social at HoaxTonerLucas. Most of my stuff's on shacknews.com. And also, you can hopefully very soon find a review of Multiversus on Kotaku.com from yours truly. And then there's more to come. But yeah, keep checking in at Shack News. That's where I will be doing the brunt of my work, if you like what I have to say.
Nice. Also, shout out to the Buster Wolf himself for not falling down this week. He is more graceful than Richter. So
it's true.
That is because Richter is the worst and best Belmont.
Yeah.
It's very
We said it in that moment.
And also, I mean, surprising nobody because he's literally a ninja, but my little boy Donatello held tight.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised that held together the whole time. So
I literally he's just got 1 foot, like he's just standing up on my like microphone, like shock mount. Nailed it. Like he's just vibing, dude.
Beautiful.
Ninja.
It's like he was meant to be there.
Yeah, ninja balance. Like I love to see it. So yeah, we're gonna have. I guess we'll have Donatello on here, or maybe I'll get some other people to put on the shock mount. So, anyways, from everybody here at the Platformers, we hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe out there. Because until next time, we are out.
Peace.
Goodbye.